Welcome everyone to Davos Fingers episode 155. Plum Bob. I'm Scatty, and with me as always is my buddy Matt.
Hey guys, hello Scatty. How are you?
I've been better and I've been worse.
You've been better, you've been worse. Me too, I suppose. I can think of times where I've been better,
Yeah, I mean it's the usual state, really.
but
If
I
we're all
feel
being
fine.
honest with ourselves.
Yeah. It's
Sure,
10:15 on a Thursday night.
sure. And we're gonna
Yeah,
have fun talking. So I mean we're definitely better than we've been at some points.
right.
But certainly we're also not
The
mid-coitus,
best
so
we've ever
we've
been.
yeah, right.
This episode gets us awfully close. We're reading The Wise Man's Fear, which I had to verify. I think this whole time I've been talking about it, I've been saying a wise man's fear. It's not,
Hmm.
it's the wise man's fear.
The wise man's fear. Yeah.
Yep. And in
Which
that
is funny
we
because there are three things, and I can't remember them off the top of my head, but there are three things that all wise men fear.
yeah, it's at the end of the of Name of the Wind, right?
Yeah, they say it. They've
Mm,
said it a few times, but I forget what they something s- uh a panicked man in a store. I can't remember. There's three of them.
yeah, raisins and cookies,
Oh yeah, for sure. That's bad.
and
Yeah, yeah.
forgetting to turn on your sprinklers when you go on vacation or something like that. Yeah.
That can be a killer.
Poorly loaded dishwasher. Oof,
That one's never bitten me before.
oof, tell you, brother. Well, here we go. Chapter 6 through chapter 10 is our coverage tonight. That's this chapter's called Love versus versus through being treasured.
Hmm.
We're loved and we're being treasured. In these, Kvothe plays a trick and a song at the Eolian, but his purse is still hurting after collecting money for his deck lamps and his due from Anchor once tuition comes due. To make matters worse, he's been poisoned, causing him to bungle his admissions and achieve his worst tuition yet.
Yeah, yeah, causing yet another trip to Devi, which we wouldn't have it any other way, really. But
She's cute as a button.
cute as a button. She literally says it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
If you ask her.
if you ask her.
Oh,
Or Quoth. Quoth admits it too.
yeah.
Uh, how you been, Matt? Got we got some announcements.
We do. We
We
do.
we wanted to talk about Fall Guy real quick, but also just maybe dovetail that into general what we're watching stuff.
Oh, wasn't Fall Guy good?
I loved it.
Yeah.
I I went in with pretty high expectations. I like Gosling quite a bit, and Emily Blunt's good too. And so I went in with high expectations, but it blew me away. It just felt different.
Yeah.
I think because it was directed by a guy that used to be a stunt guy.
Mm-hmm.
And so he took that lens and just made it a focal point of the film. And the storytelling just felt different somehow. I'm not a huge action guy, really.
Right.
Like it's not
Yeah.
usually what I care about, but the way it was told, I don't know, it grabbed me. I really loved it.
I agree. Like I've said before, maybe on this podcast, car chase scenes, if there's a car chase scene in a movie, I
Fast
am going to get
forward.
up and go to the bathroom. Yeah. That will be my pee moment is
Yep.
during any car chase movie.
Hmm.
So formulaic, all the same. This one
Hmm.
was remarkably good.
Yeah,
I think part of it is the charm of Ryan Gosling and
it
Emily
helps.
Blunt. Like
Yeah.
Ryan Gosling, girls seem to love him. I'm sure some dudes do too. He's not like the super sexiest guy to me. Emily Blunt is gorgeous, but she's not like that to me. She's not like that sexy, like,
It's she's not dripping with it.
right,
It's not like
with like sex appeal.
yeah,
Um,
but
but she's
yeah,
beautiful and she's
sure.
also very charming. And
Yes.
I think you've got two people that are both just like charming as can be,
Yeah.
just loaded with charisma,
Yeah.
Riz, as the kids say.
Riz,
Yep.
King of Ohio. I think we talked about this last episode.
We did. Let's not continue it. Uh,
They also, as charismatic as they are individually, I don't want to give much away, but the love story was told a different way than I expected too,
true.
and it really worked for me.
True.
I really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
It
Again, don't
wasn't as formulaic as I expected that part to be. So
don't want
yeah,
to give it away, but the Taylor Swift in the truck moment.
yeah,
I thought it was so
yeah,
good.
yeah. Didn't even know that was Taylor Swift. My wife had to tell me.
She leaned over. That's Taylor Scott.
I think she told me after. I was like, what song was that?
I think on the roast of Tom Brady, I think it's Nikki Glazier that says, Noah, like half the people that watch the NFL now just do it because Taylor Swift told us it was okay to, or whatever. Someone will
Yep.
correct me on that. That's fine. You've watched anything else good lately?
I watched Physical 100, which is a bit of a guilty pleasure. It's a Korean show, and I can't. We might have even talked about this last episode, but it's got some. It's the first season had some problematic stuff, I think, with how contestants were treated and stuff, like bad conditions. So beware if that sort of thing would turn you off. But it basically just takes athletes of all certain kinds of disciplines in Korea,
Hmm.
and they compete in these physical contests to see like who had the kind of tagline is like who has the best like physique almost. And
Hmm.
yeah, there's some team events where they have to like get together with like six other people or whatever, and it's very creatively done, and the stunts are that they're the games they put together are really fun. So I watched that. I zoomed through that one pretty quick in a few days. Yeah, really enjoyed that, and I finished a rewatch of
Physical
Justified,
100. Oh yeah, you
which
like
I
Justified.
love. Justified. It's
That's
got the I think it's maybe my favorite ending to a show ever. It's
the
just so
finale.
thematic. It's even just like the last scene
Oh,
is just it's so tonally correct for the show and the two main characters in it. And
that's the one with Timothy, right?
yeah, Timothy Oliphant and Walton Goggins.
Mr.
Yeah,
Tim.
yeah,
Walton Goggins. That guy's a goofball, dude.
I love him.
He's
He's
such a
amazing.
goofball.
He's amazing in this show.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I finished that. That's pretty much been my it's pretty much been my repertoire recently. And of course,
Hmm.
Critical Role. I'm always watching Critical Role.
Yeah, you're nothing critical.
All right.
You get your critical on.
What about
Get
you?
your critical on. Um, Finished Bad Batch.
Oh yeah,
It was dandy.
I've never. I didn't get into it. I really hated Wrecker, and so I kind of never got over it, and I never gave it
It's
another
Ricka.
chance.
It's Ricka.
Wrecker.
Hunter.
I should give it another chance.
I'm gonna get dragged for saying this, but Omega drives me kind of nuts.
I
The
don't think you're
little
the
gal clone.
I don't think you're the only person I've heard say that.
I just kind of want to be like, shut up.
She's a literal child, man.
I
I mean, a literal
know.
cartoon, but also
I
a literal
know.
child.
I know. I know. Um, yeah, I had a little trouble getting into it, but it was great. Our sister Kat, she loves them clones. I know she loved it.
Yes.
I know her podcast co-host loved it as well. Jay, Animated Antics, shout out, go check out their podcast.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah. Uh, Other than that, I've been revisiting some old music. An album that's held up well. Scat, I don't think you're a fan, but I'll shout him out anyways. 311's album Sound System. Go check it out. It's peak 311. Great stuff. Highly recommend.
I was never a 311 fan, that's true. But I also never really gave them a chance. I mean, I heard the things that were on the radio and then
Hmm.
didn't do anything else. But it wasn't really my style, but I don't
This
think
is
they
an
were
album
bad or
from
whatever.
1999, and it's just, those tight albums where just maybe it's got like 12 or 13 songs, but every single one of them's good. And it's
Yeah.
just like, it feels like they're just firing on all cylinders. It's just good 311. But
Growing Copper is always the example I use for that.
it's a great album,
But
dude.
yeah, I
By
think you talked about
Live.
that before too, maybe. Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe one of the worst band names out there. I
Yeah.
hate
Live.
that band name.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Live.
Live, Live, Live
Live.
A.
Live by Throwing Copper.
Yep. So
Yeah.
stupid.
Throwing Copper the band and it's a live album? Or
Or
is Throwing the album and Copper's the band, but it's a
they're
live album?
throwing some copper live.
Yes, it's a live throwing. Don't
Yeah.
get
A
pelted.
live throwing, a lively fisting.
They figured out how to make copper come to life, and they're throwing it, and
And
it
that
becomes
freaky dude on the
alive.
cover who's like,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
good
Anyway,
album.
311.
Yep. All right. You've got a big announcement,
I
and
do.
I'm gonna drum roll it a little bit.
Oh, okay. I put it on Twitter, so people may have seen already, but my sister, the incomparable Kelly Thompson, nominated for 5 Eisner Awards. Now, the Eisner Awards are essentially the Oscars for comics. I mean, they're a big deal. She's been nominated for Eisners
Dude.
before. She's even won an Eisner before, I believe.
Oh, she has? For
But
what?
she's I can't remember which one it was now. It might have been Hawkeye. I don't remember.
Mm,
Anyway, she's nominated for 5 this time, including 2 of her own like self-made books that she just invented out of the ether, right?
really?
Um, yeah, yeah. The
Ha-
Cull and Black Cloak both are
Oh yeah, you
author
talked about
author
Black
generated.
Cloak, I think.
Yeah, they're really good.
How do they
Um,
like get the other talent on those types of books? Do they like have to sell it to a publisher and then they hook them up with the talent?
it
Or
is I
or
I
is it
won't
like, hey, friend who's a
yeah,
penciler, will you do my
yeah.
book with me?
A, a little of both, I think. I won't do it justice, but I know it's a lot of work. So she's
Mm-hmm.
on what's called Substack. And so you can find her at
Yeah.
79 semifinalist Substack. And you basically can just subscribe and get her stuff there. But when she's putting together the book she wants to work on, she has to, I think, reach out and find artists and inkers and letterers and everything that she wants to work with to put these books together. And then, there's a lump sum of money essentially for what she's going to sell or whatever, and she has to pay from that, I think. So I don't know all the details of, what the money is and how those contracts work and everything, but on Substack,
Dang.
where it's really all kind of creator owned stuff, yeah, there's a lot of effort to go into organizing that and putting it all together. But really cool, super proud of her. She's also nominated just in general as like best writer, like in the world
Best
for comics.
writer.
So like yeah, it's crazy. I'm just so proud of her, and it's just weird to think about. But
Best writer.
yeah,
Period.
yeah, she's on Birds of Prey for DC right now. If you like your comics more mainstream, she's kind of, from what I understand, kind of revitalized that book a little bit. People are
Of
loving it.
course. She's the best writer.
Yeah, she's the best writer, and also nominated for her little fun book called It's Jeff, which is about her little land shark character
Oh, no
that
way.
doesn't speak. He just has like thought bubbles, but they're just like cute little panel-y comic books, and they're
Oh,
just humorous and fun. Yeah, they're adorable. My
I
kids
need
love them.
that. I need that in my life.
Yeah, it's Jeff. You can
It's
find it.
Jeff.
Yeah,
I'm gonna go grab that.
yep,
Your
that's through
kids like
Marvel.
it? Your boys like it?
Oh, they love it. Yeah,
I bet
yeah,
Chewy would dig it then.
yeah.
Hmm.
Um, yeah. So big news there. Thanks for letting me throw it out there.
We are Kelly Thompson fans
We are indeed.
in
Yeah,
this house and on this podcast. So,
we are very much.
yeah. That's it. Let's
All
podcast,
right,
dude.
let's
You wanna
let's
let's
do
take us
it.
through the rest of this. Lay out the
Yeah.
rules.
Well, we're spoiler free for the King Killer Chronicles, so we're not going to give away anything that happens in the rest of the Wise Man's Fear, other than what we're covering today and what we've already covered before. But we do have a spoiler section at the end called Devi After Dark, and we'll get into some spoiler chat there. Although pretty light today. I didn't think there's not a lot of spoilery stuff coming up in this episode, I don't think, but
Yeah.
we'll have a
Hmm.
little. We'll have a little.
Okay. Yeah, we're good at not spoiling, partly because one half of us doesn't even know what's gonna happen
That's
next. So,
true. That's true. And the guilt I have for spoiling you is palpable. Ooh.
like I said in the last one, they're arrows I'm willing to take for good listeners.
Better
Uh,
than slings.
thank goodness. Guys, it's fun to hear from you. Always a pleasure. Love chatting with our Calasar. So you can find us on email. We are davosfingers@gmail.com. Twitter and Blue Sky. Our handle is at davosfingers. We're on Facebook. And please go check out our Patreon program at patreon.com/davosfingers, where you can support us doing things like maybe another roast. Mm,
Yes.
We said we weren't going to talk
Yes.
about it, but I brought it up anyways.
Nah, you brought it up anyway. You
Uh,
do that. It's okay.
yeah,
We're
yeah.
gonna do another one. Timing is, listen, we're busy. our timing doesn't always work out with each other really well, but it's coming.
Yep. It's
It's
coming.
coming.
All right.
Let's dive in.
Let's dive in. I've got the first chapter.
Love. Bring me the love, Matt.
Love, love, it seemed like only yesterday. Robin Hood, awesome Disney movie.
Yes, we were talking about that on the Twit machine yesterday or a couple days ago.
Yeah, dude, somehow Maid Marian's hot. She's a fox and she's a fox.
It is a weird choice Disney made with that. Because as a kid, I didn't think it was weird. I just loved it.
Hmm.
And then somebody was like, it's weird they did that with the animals. And I'm like, no, they do it all the time, don't they? And I'm like, no, they don't. They
Not like
just
that.
did it with this one.
And it
It's
works,
it's
bro.
like they had a bunch of artists that were good at drawing animals, and so like Robin Hood, but with animals.
And it's literally any animal. Like
Yeah,
there's foxes
there's
and
alligators. Yeah,
rhinos
yeah,
and
yeah,
like
yeah.
every animal imaginable.
Yes,
But
you're never around when I need you.
be gone, long one. I've committed to using that phrase more in my everyday life. Okay, so this kind of picks up in the middle of a story that was started in the last episode, of a moment, anyways.
It was a rough
So,
cut. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So roll it on back.
Yes.
Kvothe needs money to pay for his tuition. You may remember he's quite desperate for it, really. So off to the Eolian he went at the end of the last chapter to peddle his musical wares. Yes, that means he's going to play some songs. His hopes of finding an actual patron to support him financially are all but dashed due to the sinister machinations of one Ambrose Jackus, but some tips and maybe financial shows of appreciation might just get him the green that he needs to make it through another semester at the university. So, in that last chapter, we found him hanging with Will, Sim, and Manet, listening to some of the university's best and generally having a pretty good time. He found Denna, surprise, in the company of a rich suitor, surprise, who was a huge dick to Kvothe, surprise. The young man, Kellen, claimed he was a lock at earning his talent pipes at some point due to his skills at shredding on a harp. The guy just shreds on the harp. And he was quite the turd to Kvothe when he found out Kvothe had earned his talent pipes. I mean, look at the kid. He must be some sort of like folk musician, saying if it as if it was some sort of slur. And Kvothe, as we know, is quite the prideful little bugger and took offense to that. So our story then picks up with Kvothe going on stage for his performance that evening, his reputation preceding him amongst the regulars. A hush fell over the crowd as he removed his perfectly imperfect lute from its battered case. He started to play. It's a folk standard called Bellwether. With a simple melody that was 10,000 years old, according to him, it was instantly recognizable amongst the crowd, but hardly what they may have expected from the silver pipe endowed Kvothe. It was quite a simple tune. Um, he started to play it faster and faster and faster. The physical strain it was taking on him was obvious. Sweat dripped down his face. His breathing was heavy. His features were contorted in intense, nearly painful concentration as he labored to keep time and play flawlessly. And at the exact moment where it seemed he could not possibly maintain this laborious pace, he played the last chord, then slumped into his chair, exhausted. The crowd erupted with applause, but also with laughter? Indeed, some of the crowd seemed downright amused with Kvothe's show, much to the chagrin of the audience members who had been dazzled by that same performance. Before the crowd could work out their issues, though, Kvothe began to play another song. This one was, and I should have practiced it before I'm saying it because it's a mouthful.
Hmm.
This one was Tintatatorn. Tintatatorn.
Tintatatornin.
Tintatatatata.
Tapping,
Live
tap, tap,
throwing
tapping.
copper. Tap, tap, taparoo. Tapping, throwing copper. Uh, a deep cut of Ilians with no lyrics and not much of a catchy melody, but it was hard, like Eddie Van Halen's Eruption hard. His father had called it the finest song ever written for 15 fingers. And it was a song Kvothe had practiced regularly since he still had his dad with him. For his performance, he made a show of playing the song effortlessly. He acted almost bored, eyes wandering, fidgeting in his seat, scratching himself between notes, even yawning. At the end of the flawless performance of such a difficult song, he simply stopped with no flourish and bent over to put the lute back in his case. The laughter returned before the applause, and it was twice as loud as before. And this time, Kvothe reveals that those laughing in amusement were his people, the musicians. They recognized that Kvothe was playing a bit of a joke. The others, the normie patrons, applauded half heartedly, obviously confused. But Kvothe's status as a god at the Eolian, that's Manet's term, not mine, was even more firmly cemented after this performance of these two songs. As he sat back down with his friends, his other friend, Marie, the enchanting fiddler who we heard from in the last episode, could hardly contain her excitement, calling his performance brilliant. Big boss of the Eolian, Stanchion, however, was a little more muted in his praise, saying that while Kvothe's performance was masterful, he alienated the non-musician patrons by winking musically to the class of musicians there. Nobody likes having a joke played on them, he remarked. Um, sure, Ambrose has done more than his part to keep patrons away from Kvothe, but this lack of social savvy isn't doing himself any favors either, Stanchion declares. Kvothe acknowledged that Stanchion was right, but admitted that if he was unlikely to get a patron anyway, he'd rather play songs that amuse my friends rather than cater to folk who dislike me based on hearsay. So, with that, the post mortem of his performance concluded amicably. Kvothe took the opportunity to introduce Will, Sim, and Manet to Fiddler Marie. Upon shaking her hand, Manet shocked everyone by boldly asking Marie if she'd have a drink with him. Yes, old man, shabbily dressed Manet, shooting his shot. I'm gonna say it. Don't kill me, Scad. W. Riz. The boys were surprised even more when Marie, with a glint in her eye, accepted. Hmm? With that out of the way, we return to Kvothe's reason for being there that night to meet Denna. JK, but not JK. His stated reason was to make money for tuition. He doesn't have a patron, but he does have a lot of admirers offering to buy him drinks. So he and the Eolian staff got creative in that every time someone asks to buy him a drink, which is often, Kvothe orders something really expensive. The barman, however, serves him only water. Then at the end of the night, Kvothe, the barman, and the house split the profits three ways. By the end of the night, Kvothe cashed out with a full talent and change, bringing his grand savings total to 3 talents. A good amount, but nothing near the 9 to 10 talents that Manet had estimated he would need for his tuition. But Kvothe felt pretty good, and as he made his way back with his friends to the university side of the river, through campus and to his place at Anchors, Kvothe felt a strange sensation. He felt home. And thus ends our chapter. Thanks for giving me another musical one, Scad.
I try to. If you ever
Appreciate it.
don't want them, tell me, and I'll take them back.
I appreciate it, buddy.
The finest song ever written for 15 fingers, played with ease. What do you think of his joke?
Well, I was going to ask you the same question. Do you think it was funny? Like, who do you agree with more, Kvothe or Stanchion?
Uh, I think I agree with Stanchion, but
Hmm.
I understand, for us, it's just 2 or 3 chapters in the Aeolian that we've read. For Kvothe, it's semesters of frustration of going and impressing all these people and never having much to show
Not
for it.
getting anything for it.
And
Yeah.
so I get why he's frustrated. I can see why he wants to do it. And, I think Stanchion's right, but who cares?
Exactly.
Like go, you do you. If you're that frustrated, go for
I do think it's kind of funny,
it.
although also understandable, that he's like, if I'm not going to make any money, I at least want to play songs that amuse my friends. Yet
Yeah.
he adamantly refuses to play Jackass for his best
Yes.
friends.
Yeah.
But that,
Yeah,
of course, that one is different. It's not apples to apples because that has had significant consequences for him.
it's apples to plums maybe, but
Hey,
we can see that this he's trying to put this rivalry to bed, maybe. We learned in that chapter that he actually a month ago did two more things to him that were not nice. Cut his saddle, I think, and poured butter down his chimney. I don't know what that's about.
yeah, yeah.
If I even remember it right, it was something like that.
We just get
Uh,
these little glimpses of stuff they did, and it's like, did I miss that?
but he's through. Now he's done. And
Mhm.
after those, now I'm done.
He's one of those guys that needs to get in the last
The
shot,
last
isn't he?
shot. Yeah,
And the
but
problem is Ambrose is as well.
Ambrose is
So,
as well. And you could argue Ambrose is consistently getting in the last shot just by poisoning the well of patrons, right? So like Ambrose almost doesn't have to do anything. He's just winning
mhm.
by this one thing that's just
Oh,
kind of
it's
wrecking his
so
life.
frustrating.
Yeah.
So frustrating.
uh
I
I
just
did
realized one of the things I was going to bring up is better for Devi After Dark, so I just added it to Devi.
okay,
That's
cool.
how
We'll
we
take a look.
work. But
Yeah,
yeah,
we'll make it happen.
you bet. You bet.
Uh how did you feel about his ode to troopers and how they're the only people that know love
But no
at the
love.
beginning? Kind of not being a trooper, I guess, kind of irked me a little bit.
It's like, oh, shut up, Kvothe.
Yes, yes. Stop being so dramatic about this. Nobody has a right on love. Everybody gets to understand love in their own way. Just stop.
um, I did really like the comparisons of his loot to Denna, right?
Mm,
That was
yes.
pretty obvious.
The coffee color.
Yeah, he
Hmm.
describes the wood of his lute being the
Hmm.
color of dark coffee, which he uses to describe Denna's eyes
Hmm.
on a number of occasions, not even
And
just once.
yeah,
But
he talks about how it's imperfect and loving it anyway. Yeah,
the
right.
lute costs more money than he'd ever spent on anything in his life. I'm thinking about the Denner resin from the last
Mm,
book,
hmm.
everything he lost.
Hmm.
Although that wasn't really completely due to her or anything, but he was with her when it
Yep.
happened. One of the pegs was loose and was prone to changing its tune.
Doesn't sound optimal.
I mean, yeah, she's there and she's not there, and it's
Yes.
sometimes hard to pin her down.
Yes.
And then the last one, maybe the most poetic of them all, the lute had been treated unkindly in the past, but
Uh-huh.
that didn't make it less lovely underneath.
Yeah.
Right?
Good pull. Those are good comparisons. Um,
Very sweet.
yeah.
And then I've had lots of good passages in this book, but his little thing about loving unwise love
Mm.
is maybe one of my favorites.
What does it say?
So yes, it had flaws. I think this is right after
Oh, yeah, yeah.
the comparisons. But what does that matter when it comes to matters of the heart? We love what we love. Reason does not enter into it. In many ways, unwise love is what I like. In many ways, unwise love is the truest love. Anyone can love a thing because that's as easy as putting a penny in your pocket. But to love someone despite, to know the flaws and love them too, that is rare and pure and perfect.
Yep. It's good.
I can't,
It's really good.
right now, I can't think of a passage that's like, besides the opening chapters, the Silence of Three
The
Parts,
sounds,
the
3 parts are really
prologues.
good. Yeah.
But that's lovely, man.
It's it's very nice.
To know the flaws and love them too, that is rare and pure and perfect.
I don't know how rare it is. I think it is perfect. I think I think we
And
almost
pure.
all fall in love with people that and with each when we fall in love with each other, we're almost
Yeah,
always aware of the imperfections.
right.
We fall anyway.
And you
And it
fall
is
anyways.
beautiful. It's very human and beautiful. Yeah.
Uh-huh. Maybe the staying in love is one of the big things
Mm,
too.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. A song about that. It sounds like a song.
It does.
Yeah.
Nowhere else he'd rather be. some people are meant for the road, I think, but Kvothe has found a home at
Yeah.
Ankers and at the university. And
What about it
I
do you think makes him feel like it's home?
yeah, good question. I think, for a lot of us, it's home is really just about the people you love being there, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I think he's found a place where he fits with people, um, is very close to these people. Um, so I think that's probably most of it, but I think he also is speaking logistically isn't the right word, but like very much he's not a person that settles down, right? And his family and his people, the Rue in general, don't settle down. And so this is weird for him, right? To
Mm-hmm.
make this choice. And we've kind of bemoaned the fact that, he's so restless with all of these mysteries and things he wants to unravel and how he just can't kind of settle a little bit. And he's young and we always cover that and everything. But like if he could just settle down and just play some music or just do some artificing and or just, just settle in a little bit. Um, maybe he'd be a little better off. And this feels a little like that, right? Like
Yeah.
he's got a place and he's feeling a little more settled. He's saying he doesn't want to get into it with Ambrose again. Maybe he's really thinking of turning over a little bit of a new leaf here with, you know, accepting the fact that he's not going to get a patron, trying to move on from the Ambrose thing, relishing in having a home. He really has this walk around the university, just kind of taking it all in and all the
Correct.
buildings and
Yeah.
the
Mm-hmm.
places. Maybe he's really kind of starting to settle a little bit.
Yeah.
And yet,
And yet,
and yet,
with Quoth, nothing lasts forever.
yeah,
I was just thinking as you were talking about that, when he was with the Rue, he was traveling a lot, right? They weren't physically settling, but they
yep,
were in a bit of a routine,
sure,
right? They
yeah.
would,
And with
they
people he
would,
loved, and yeah,
he was with people he loved all the time, and he'd go to places and they'd kind of do the same thing. Obviously, they'd perform different
hmm
things at different places and everything, but you'd go to a town, you'd stay there for a little bit, you'd perform, make some money, and then move on, right? And here it's like maybe he's getting that fix for being out and about by flipping the script a little bit. I don't know if I'm going to be able to describe that very well. But before the routine was the routine was what they would do when they would travel. They'd go to
uh-huh.
different places, but then they would kind of do the same thing at every place. And this, he's staying in one place, but he's
Oh,
doing lots of different things. Am I making
he's
any sort of sense?
he's
Like,
getting his routine is still there. It just doesn't involve travel anymore.
yeah, he's in one place, but he's got his feet in so many different his fingers in so many different things. He's playing at the Eolian, he's got his friends, he's studying at the university, he's got
Yep,
Ari and the Under thing that he's constantly going to. And so he's always like
always with the Denna
always
searching too.
going, yeah, the dentist stuff. He's always going, always moving in all these different directions. And it's almost like that script is flipped a little bit. He's stationary, but he's still getting a lot of variety in his life that feels fulfilling to
Yeah,
him. And like you said, probably the most important thing is throughout it all, the common thread in both scenarios is that he's got his people. He's got people
yeah,
that love him. He's kind of got his little tribe um, of
yeah.
people that, I mean, that'll walk to the end of the earth for him,
Yeah.
to our amazement sometimes.
And yet they won't just loan him three talents. Um,
That's true. That's true.
um, yeah, I like that. I think I mean, there are people out there that just like they don't know how to slow down. I'm sure you know people like that. Like it's just
Yeah.
they're always adding. You might be one of them actually. Like they're just always adding something else
Maybe
to the plate.
sometimes. Hmm.
Like like stop. Like you've got enough. But it's almost like he won't. He just keeps adding stuff, and
Hmm.
maybe he's just one of those people that needs that, or he doesn't feel alive or whatever. But you're right. It's
Right.
kind of he's settled into kind of the same things now, and he just does them on repeat. Gonna
Hmm.
visit Ari tonight. Gotta go to the fishery tomorrow. Gotta sneak into the library to study. Gotta go play at Onkers. Gotta go to the fishery. Gotta see Denna. Gotta like just kind of on repeat, right?
But it's all of those things, and that kind of keeps him moving. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
interesting.
Um, the only other question I had on this one was what the freak does Maurice see in Monet? Just that, just that W Riz, just that,
Dude, he's awesome.
just shooting his
This
shot.
the tale of Manet, man. I feel like this could be Pat's Night of the Seven Kingdoms, right? Let's get the stories of Manet out there.
I love it.
Um,
I love it.
yeah, I don't know. There are people that just kind of exude self-actualization and awareness, and people find it confident. He also does something that I remember when I was like being trained for sales called like the assumptive close, right? Which is like if you take away all their reasons for saying no, they don't have
Mm.
a reason to give you to say no. So he's like, oh, I don't want to interrupt your friends for sure. Later, I'll stay up late even if it's too late. I'll be here at the end of the night. Like what's she gonna say? It's like, uh, I just don't wanna. Well, it's a hard thing. It's a hard thing to say to somebody, right? Especially somebody who's, not that she owes him anything or anything like that for sure, but like he's being very nice. He's being complimentary. He seems like a nice guy. She trusts the friends that he has. So like, why not? You removed a lot of the reasons for me to say no. Okay, sure.
Then she gives him a thoughtful look as she turned to
Thoughtful
walk
look.
away.
She's she's interested. It also, maybe goes a long way to say, again, it's a very limited interaction, right? It's not like he did anything huge to win her over, maybe, but like maybe it goes a long way to say like nobody treats these women correctly. And so like even
You're
just
not wrong.
giving giving her, like a real interaction that's heartfelt and meaningful is like, oh, that's nice. He's
A
not just
very
here
nice.
to like
Yeah.
buy me things or,
Hmm.
to flatter me with compliments that don't mean anything or
That's true. In a world that's very like patron focused, like transactional, right?
yeah,
This
patron focused and
feels
male
very
dominated
genuine.
still too, right?
Absolutely.
Um,
Yep.
yeah,
Yep.
yeah,
Kind of the opposite of the guys Denna
yes, yeah.
goes
It's
for or
all
attracts.
yeah,
I
it's
don't know
all
what to say.
flowery, and Manet is all substance.
Yeah.
There's nothing flowery about the guy. Nothing,
Except his
right?
dancing skills,
His
obviously.
his
His
light feet.
ability to jig,
Yeah.
just jigs like a maniac.
Um, I don't have a bunch else. I did notice one weird thing.
Mm,
They're playing corners, this card game that they play, where they're partnered up against each other, right? And Kvothe is partnered with Manet, and he gets distracted, and they drop some hands, and Manet gets angry at him, and does this thing where he's like, "Let's do some math. You've played three spades, or you have three spades in your hand, and five have been played. How many is that?"
hmm.
And I guess, it's a spoiler for a chapter later in this episode, but uh,
Eloden.
Eloden gives him the same exact problem for his admissions.
Right.
And I don't know whether that was just my mind started going crazy. Like, is Manet
Is
Eloden just
Monet
glamored?
Eloden? Yep. Is he in
Like,
disguise? My
yeah,
mind went there too.
yeah. Not a spoiler because we're just going crazy with speculation, but uh, it probably means nothing. But I thought it was weird.
No, I don't think it means nothing because it's the exact same
Yeah,
problem and they're so close together. They're within
there were three chapters or whatever.
three
Yeah,
chapters. Yeah, it's in chapter 8 that next one is. And
yeah.
was it 8 or 9? Yeah, it's 9.
It's
Chapter 9, sorry.
nine, I
Civil
think. Yeah,
tongue is his
yep,
actual admissions thing.
yeah.
Um, yeah, yeah. I read
Man.
some a little
Or
bit on it, not much,
was that
but
the thing you tried to add to Devi After Dark that I didn't see?
no,
Okay,
nope.
good.
That's something different.
Just about stumbled over that one.
Yeah.
Anything else for this chapter before we move on?
No, this next one's a long one, so
It is,
longer than the one I did.
and the summary is not brief.
Oh, okay, I'm gonna get
Sorry,
comfy.
sorry about that.
I'm gonna get comfy, bro. No, I
Uh,
want you to regale me with your storytelling.
every term before admissions, the masters set aside some recommended texts for people to read up and study. Kvothe does not have easy access to these texts, so he has to go searching for them on his own. The result is he's just not as prepared as he'd like to be. He's kind of agonizing over that at Ankers. The nerves are high on this day of his admissions interviews. But out of his thoughts and back to reality, a woman enters his view. A woman looking to buy him a drink, blonde, luxurious, and beautiful. She thanks Kvothe for breaking Ambrose's arm, buys him a drink from the bar, brings it to him. He notices a wet handle. She toasts with her own drink, then apologizes, tears off her own wet glove, and runs off in tears. A strange occurrence, yes, but Kvothe also suddenly feels emboldened for his interview, while also smelling nutmeg and plum from somewhere. The first sign to the reader, though, that something must be wrong is that Kvothe bought a meat pie. The kind of thing Kvothe usually brags about refusing to do due to his poverty now was clearly worth it to him, despite tuition coming due today. Oh, he also buys some honeyed almonds just because he wants them, I guess. Then he chats up a girl he barely knows, a girl we've never heard of, whose name he has to question. Then he loudly complains about waiting in line for tuition. His almonds also taste like plum. Something is wrong with Kvothe. Ambrose quickly confirms. After Kvothe insults him and pops another almond into his mouth to taste only plum, Ambrose asks, "What's the matter? Don't fancy plum?" Even the discombobulated Kvothe knew something was amiss at that moment, and he left the courtyard at a dead run, immediately seeking out Sim, who he insults and slaps before Sim can figure out the problem. A student of alchemy, Sim quickly recognizes the offense of the alchemical plum bob, which results in everything tasting like nutmeg and plum, while also reducing the individual's inhibitions and moral compass to practically zero. Kvothe literally does not know the difference between right and wrong, between spitting on his friend's floor and murdering Ambrose. They're the same to him. Sim calmly explains the alchemical poison, the effects, how it works, and convinces Kvothe that he cannot trust his own instincts and judgment, and that Kvothe's behavioral filters of knowing what is okay and not are gone. He must trust Sim to make these decisions for him until it wears off. Kvothe agrees. First order of business, you can't kill Ambrose. Second is give Sim the knife that is currently pointed at him. No good can come from the knife right now. Kvothe can't do admissions. He would fail for certain. It's a bad value of 8 on their newly created 10-point scale of bad to good, good to bad. They go get Fella in hopes that she will trade admissions days with him, giving him time for the plum bob effects to wear off. Upon entering, Kvothe immediately blabs to Fella that he would give everything he owns to look at her naked for 2 minutes, except his loot, which is a symbol for Denna. We just covered that. Fella and Sim blushed dark crimson, but they knew the score. Kvothe had no sense of morality. Stealing a pie and killing Ambrose were also on equal footing for him. A meat pie? What kind of pie? Fella suggests taking Kvothe to the Medica, but Sim says it couldn't help. Alchemy can't be purged like poison, and they might send Kvothe to Haven as a result, thinking he's cracked. This elicits a violent reaction from Kvothe as well. Fella and Sim quickly agree the Medica isn't right, soothing him quickly. Kvothe is about to pay Fella to take off her clothes without any other better ideas when Sim admonishes him. That would be the worst thing in the world right now. Kvothe reassures that he wouldn't ravish her. That is something he just cannot do, like eating a stone or walking through a wall. Ravishing a woman is just not something you're allowed to do. The body can't do it, I guess. The plum bob is weird. Bravo, Pat. It's crazy. Anyway, admission tiles exchanged with Fella. Sim sat with Kvothe until the effects seemed to wear off. But Kvothe's emotional trauma continued far after Sim delivered him back to Ankers. It wasn't the bad memories of his troop being killed that haunted him most. It was the good memories of riding in the wagon, of his mother brushing his hair, his father working on stagecraft with him. The plum bob brought them all back that night. But as he battled them, a knock came at the window. Ari, there to protect him. Oh, it's bad sometimes, isn't it? As she caresses his forehead and ran her fingers through his hair with his head on her lap. She reassures him, comforts him, makes him feel safe. His little moon fae. He remembers his mother, how they used to sing back and forth when he was a literal baby. Before he could even talk, he sang. He's sobbing, admits he'll never see his mother again. It's okay. I'm here. You're safe, Ari replies. End of chapter.
That wasn't that long.
Oh, well.
Or maybe I was just so drawn into it.
Oh, my storytelling is unmatched.
Yep. At least in the modern era, for sure.
Yeah. Uh Well, the Plum Bob.
How funny is that, dude? This
It's
was
crazy.
this was one of the more comedic chapters in this book, in my opinion.
It,
Just like,
it's fun to read. Yeah.
you know what? It's fun to read in. Fun hint, guys. Fun tip. Read his thoughts in like a really fast voice, like
Oh,
super fast paced.
mhm.
Like, as I finished the last bit of crust, I spilled honeyed almonds. I bought a large scoop in a clever pouch from a dried corn husk. It cost me 4 drabs, but I hadn't had honeyed
Yes.
almonds in years, and some sugar in my blood wouldn't hurt when I was answering questions. Like,
Like
and
he's
then
on
when
speed. Yeah.
and then when he talks, read it in a really loud voice. Like for my
Yes.
Parks and Rec fans, the episode where they're talking to the park ranger and it's Andy Samberg. Do you remember that one? It's
I
just a
don't.
single episode, and he talks really loud like this. Like, you should call it the fishery. Would you like a honey almond? They're really good. I'm
Yeah.
trying not to talk too loud because my son's asleep in the room next door. But is this the line for noon?
Yeah. Yeah.
Talking like super
He
loud.
just and he just sounds like an idiot too. Like these are questions you normally wouldn't ask. You just kind of wait to see, right? What do you care whether she calls it the fishery? Leave her alone. Like very funny. Uh yeah, Pat nails it. I love this chapter. It's very fun to read.
And it's such a slow
Uh
reveal. You're like, why is he buying honeyed
yeah.
almond? Like, to your point, why is he buying the meat pie? He's like super poor and worried about money.
Yes.
And then he lets you go through pages of these interactions
Yeah.
of him. Like one chapter earlier had said he wanted to put all this stuff to bed with
Yes.
Ambrose. And now in this chapter, he's just like laying into him publicly. And
He
why is he doing this? Why is he doing this? And he lets us believe, just be like, be befuddled for like half the chapter. And then, oh,
no. The profound emotional trauma can only come from seeing you naked. Uh the best maybe is that Amalia
Amelia?
gets a story out of it, right?
Sure.
Like for all time. She can be like, you know, the king killer? He gave me an almond once and complained really
He
loudly at
gave
me.
me an almond.
The people say he
Weird
was
dude.
charming, but I thought he was a brute. He's terrible.
Weird dude.
What a weird guy.
Weird dude. Those celebrity stories that you have.
Yeah.
Kind of an odd duck. Yep.
Yeah. And my next favorite maybe is Sim responding to killing Ambrose being a 10. Well, maybe an 8
Maybe an eight.
or a 7.
Seven.
Good work,
Great
Sim. No
touchstone
notes.
sim.
No
Yep.
notes. Hmm.
It's hilarious. Um, Interesting though that he does have a bit, you touched on this in your summary, he does have a bit of a behavioral filter for a couple of things,
Yes.
which is interesting. First of all, for Fela,
Hmm.
oh, how bad does that hurt her feelings? How bad do you feel for her when
Yeah,
he's like,
it's
I can't eat a stone or I can't walk through a wall.
yeah. Yeah, I think you're getting at one of the questions I have, which is yeah, she says something like I feel like I might have an idea,
Yeah.
right? When he says
Yeah, it's something Sim says.
what
Sim says like, what in the world does that
yeah,
mean?
Sim says,
Yeah.
I wish I knew what that signified.
And
I have
she's
a
like, I
fair
have an
idea.
idea.
Fell
And
on
she's
the
like disappointed, right?
well, I think she's disappointed. Um, but I don't know what her idea is. Just that he doesn't like her? Is it that simple or is it more complicated than that?
Yeah, that's kind of what I have a fair idea, Phelan murmured softly.
Yeah.
Like, and before that he said, I can't eat a stone, can I? And she says, you're right. And says Phelan said quickly, you can't.
Yes.
It's almost like it felt like her feelings were hurt a little bit.
Yes,
But
I agree. I agree. It feels like she keeps getting just kind of like minorly trampled,
yeah, it's like,
right?
dude, oh
Like,
man,
yeah,
just like
right. Well, in the last chapter, in the last episode, um, she's literally begging to help him and take him to lunch and do all these things, and he's just like, nah.
nah.
Imagine she sees him just buy the meat pie frivolously.
Mm-hmm.
Trampled again.
Oh, oh. Uh, so Fela's one of them. Um, He also says he wouldn't sell his loot. You brought that up in your
Yeah.
summary.
Yeah.
He doesn't have a behavioral filter when it comes to that,
Yep.
which
He's worried
strong
about
connection to Denna.
admissions.
Admissions is important. He knows that that's important. He can't miss it, right? He tells him
Hmm.
like, I got to be to admissions in a little bit. Like,
Yeah.
we got to figure this out. And then that he won't go to the havens as well.
Yes.
He gets very emotional when that topic comes up,
Yes. Yeah.
right? To the point that it scares Phaela a little bit.
Yeah.
So interesting. I wonder what makes
Common
those
thread.
things that,
Yeah.
yeah, that makes those things that he still kind of has a grasp on. But
Yeah. Haven and admissions feel somewhat related, right? They're kind of about control over his future, right?
that's
And
true.
not
Mm-hmm.
having that control.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Not exactly the same, but similar.
No, you're right.
Um, Denna,
Yeah.
or the
Denna
loot, depending on
slashes
whether you're
music.
taking it,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, as a symbol or not, I guess. But yeah, interesting. Interesting that he
Right.
can kind of maintain them. Um, it would. I wonder if he were asked to compare them, if he could.
Compare them.
What's more important, admissions or staying
Mm.
out of Haven,
Mm-hmm.
or like if it like
Ah,
you
that's
know
a good question.
we'll never know.
And he would just say yes.
Yes, yes, yes. Important factor of 10.
I think.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Uh,
On the topic of Fela, she's Modegan, and we get a description of the blonde woman at the top of this chapter, and it says the Modegan accent sweats sex. So I just
just
wanted to
more
add
reason,
that to
man.
your crush
Just
list.
add it to the list of this
That
girl, man.
she apparently sounds sexy as hell to me. So
Gee, she's got the voice to go along with it. Oof.
there's just not much to complain about when it
There's
comes
really
to Fela.
not. But speaking of that Medigan gal at the
Yeah.
beginning of the chapter, so this hit me as I read it for the third time.
Hmm.
Was she infected also with the
I
plum
think
bomb?
I think it was on her glove. So that's
Because
so she's wearing the glove. She touched the
sure.
handle. Go ahead.
Uh-huh.
Sorry.
She just has that really emotional outburst all of a
Yes, she
sudden when
does.
she leaves. And I wonder if she had ingested is the wrong word because it's done through skin contact.
Hmm.
If somehow a bit of it had gotten into her, he even talks about how her pupils were wide
Hmm. That she
at
must
the
have been
end.
drinking that morning or something.
Yeah. And I wondered if she had a bit of it too, which really doesn't mean too much other than to say that Ambrose is ruthless and he
Yeah.
really is a loser if he put this woman up to it, knowing that she would become similarly affected by whatever it is that
Yeah, it's
Quoth's gonna get.
possible. I never took it that way. I took it to be that she knew how bad this was going to be for him and that she just felt guilty.
And it was just guilt.
But
It wasn't heightened by the plum bomb.
but I don't know. Could be. I mean, part of me thought like, well, when I wear gloves, unless we're talking about like winter gloves, if I get them wet, like it
It
comes
soaks through,
through,
right? Yeah, a
right?
little bit.
So yeah,
Hmm.
so like she's got enough on it that she's like coating the glass with it. I just did this. That's for our people watching. You're welcome.
Go to YouTube, check out minute about 53.
Oh, where Scott jacks off an invisible mug. Um, yeah, so like it feels very possible that she would have. She then takes it off and just like leaves it there,
Right.
kind of intimating that she knows how dangerous it is.
Sure.
But yeah, I would. It's certainly possible. It seems like it would have seeped through to me.
Right. Yeah. I don't know that it means much other than, like I said, just to show the ruthlessness of Ambrose,
Yeah.
and his complete disregard for other people to be
Yes.
used as anything other than tools for his revenge. But
He's the worst.
mhm.
Uh,
Shall we flip it on who's the best, which is Ari?
yeah. So nice. I
That's that whole the whole moment is very puzzling to me, while very sweet at the same time. Every other story we'd gotten so far is him going to her
Mhm.
he doesn't seem surprised that she was there, really,
Yeah,
which could be partly because of his emotional state. But I wonder if that was a thing that sometimes happened where she would show up at his place. Let's meet at your place next.
yeah.
Um,
Or whether she's just getting more bold and comfortable being out and about and
yeah.
going. But
And how did
no, yeah,
she
it's a
know
good
to
question.
come at this exact moment when he
Yeah,
was really needing somebody?
yeah,
She was just there, you know?
yeah. I don't know if it means, I don't know if it means anything other than, you know, symbolically that, you know, she's close and he means a lot to her, and so she knew to come, you know. But
Hmm.
you know, is Ari, does she have some sort of power or
Sense.
something? Sense? I don't know. Maybe.
Yeah.
She does seem very kind of in tune with him, right? They have
Right.
this they have this bond that, you know, they kind of seem to share. But I don't know if it
Hmm.
means anything or not. But I love it. I feel like she's ugh, I don't know. I feel like she's in off the deep end for him. In a
Oh
not in
yeah.
a bad way, but like in a yeah, I think I it feels motherly, yes, but
Hmm.
also I don't know, that kind of the kind of comfort she's giving just
It does feel motherly.
it does. It
Yep.
does. But
Yep.
also, yeah,
Um,
she's
in the
just too sweet.
she's so sweet. She's so sweet. And then you contrast her with Devi later in the chapter, who's cute
Hmm.
as a button, and it's like completely different, really. Um, yeah, these we've often or at times have framed kind of Kvothe as being like the big brother for Auri,
Yep.
right? He brings her things, he
Hmm.
kind of plays along with her little
Yeah.
antics and the way she
Yep.
likes to do things.
He gets
But we,
that breeding beer from the Eolian, which I think
uh-huh,
we're expected to believe he's going to take to her. He's mentioning the trace nutrients and things.
very good. Yeah, nice pull, man. I didn't put that together, but yeah, absolutely. Um, but these last two chapters really with her give us a different perspective.
Hmm.
In chapter 4 from our last episode, she says almost the exact same thing to him that she says here.
About being
Um,
safe.
yeah,
Yeah.
he's making a joke about
Yeah.
stones or potatoes. I think it might be
Hmm.
potatoes. And she says, "Don't be afraid," she said, and reached out and rested her fingers on my cheek,
Hmm.
her touch lighter than the stroke of a feather. I'm here. You're safe.
Yeah. I think he said they're cold, I'm afraid. And she was like, don't be
Hmm.
afraid. Like, yeah,
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
silly. Yeah.
Uh-huh. And that's the exact same message that she has for him here
Yeah.
is right. It's
Comfort.
okay. That's where it ends. Her last words in the chapter. It's okay. I'm here. You're
Hmm.
safe. I'm here. You're safe is the same thing that she says to him in that previous chapter.
Yes.
Uh, it's it's quite lovely. But I don't know. There's just a lot of things that we can pull from this chapter.
More.
She knows his real name. She calls him Kvothe. And remember,
Mhm.
he doesn't know her name
Oh,
at all. I don't
right.
know if that's significant, but it's like she knows who he
Yeah.
is. He doesn't know her name still. Ari is what he calls her, right?
Hmm.
Um,
Yes.
again, how did she know to come? She brought him something. She doesn't say what it is she brought. It says, Quoth, she called. I brought you. Then
Yeah.
there was a
When she
moment of
sees.
silence, and she
Yeah.
said, Oh, right. So
Hmm.
she brought him something that night,
Yes.
which is nice. I don't know, you just get this completely different perspective of Ari and Quoth in this chapter, and I thought
It's
found it's sweet and also very fascinating.
it's growing. Yeah. It's
Yeah.
maybe that relationship is growing a little bit.
And
Yeah.
you think
More.
there
More
might be a
in.
little bit of love
Yeah.
there.
Maybe more in Devi After Dark. Maybe we'll
Okay.
go. We'll go into a little bit more
Okay.
there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just about speculation for Ari and him and
She's a good friend. You don't have to be alone for it, she says. You should have come to
yes.
me. I understand.
You have a stone in your heart.
Hmm.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's lovely. Aw, Ari. Again. we're making our way. We're traveling through the village of Kvothe, the women
Quotes.
in Kvothe's
Yep.
life, right? We had Denna, and we're gonna get a little more of Denna. We got Fela.
Hmm.
We've got Ari. We've got Devi.
Hmm.
Heck, we've got Amria or whatever her name is. Amlia.
Amelia, poor girl.
She comes in and out, gives a little wave on her way out.
Simon again, uh, and Fella talk about secrets being the cornerstone of civilization,
Yeah,
and I suspect you have a few. But then he doesn't do anything about it. We talked about this last episode a little
both
bit,
are
right?
Sim.
Like Sim
Yeah, he doesn't
and
like push.
Will, like,
Hmm.
yeah, maybe they're afraid of scaring him away, kind of like he is afraid of scaring Ari away, but like
Ah, that's a nice comparison. Yeah,
maybe you don't want them to have to give up their secrets, but like they're bad enough that he could use some help. And I feel like I'm going to be a broken record on this for like the rest of the book, but like they love him so much, it's so clear. Why don't they just help him a little more? You
right.
know?
Why don't they just sit down and
I
be
know he
like,
doesn't want to
dude,
impose, but
be honest.
yeah, right. Yeah.
Help me help you. You're right.
It takes a lot to ask for help. I had a friend call me, needed needed a lot of help a
Mm,
couple weeks ago, and it's really hard. I mean, he kind of expressed that. It's really hard to ask for help. And Kvothe is a very proud person,
he is.
right? And I couldn't see that my friend lives forever away. I don't ever see him. So I didn't know to ask if he needed help, right? But like they see him every day. They can see how hard he's having to work to like keep this going. Like anyway, we can drop it, but
And you were probably very willing to help. You probably really wanted to help this friend of yours.
I had no idea what I was doing. Of course, willing, yeah, but
Yeah, but that's what matters, right?
yeah,
You were
well,
willing. You wanted to
I hope
help.
so.
There was probably, it's like, it's a strange feeling because you feel awful for the person, but at the same time, you almost feel like a little honored that they did. It was
Yeah,
worth, a difficult thing was worth doing because it was you, right?
yeah, yeah,
Like that person didn't want to do that, but there was something about it, about you that said, this is hard for me, but I can go to Scott, you know?
yeah.
And that's kind of
And
nice from a selfish perspective. But
I feel very lucky because I'm one of those friends that frequently ignores phone calls from their friends. I'm sad to admit, right? Um, I when I talk to my friends, I talk to them for hours, right? So like if I pick up that phone call,
you're invested.
I'm invested, right? And so
Yeah,
a lot of times I'm like, oh, I want to, but I can't right now, right?
sure. I get
But
that.
luckily,
Yeah.
anyway, enough of that.
Well, you're
Uh,
very dependable, man.
mm,
I know that if I needed someone to go break some knees for me,
Assuming my hip will do it, I'll try. Yeah.
if I can get them to stand like in a stationary
Yeah.
place,
If they let me get my hands on them and don't move. Uh,
can I do it while they're sleeping? Uh,
Chapter 8, questions.
questions. Yep.
The effects of the plumb bob ruined any gain Quoth might have achieved with his extra prep time before admissions exams that he got from Fellows Tile. He was panicky and alarmed without notice, unable to complete work in the artificery, and getting claustrophobic while trying to access his path to the archives to learn more. Which, girl, same, because every time I read about you crawling with the archives, I get claustrophobic. Nevertheless, nevermore, it is admissions day now, and Kvothe feels like he is through the worst of the plumb bob effects. He also feels he can help Anker fix his magical iceless box, which has some basic rune damage. Fix comes easy for him, and between that and his Graysdale Mead bar tab, which is similar to what he had going on with the Eolian when he got cashed out, he cashes out for a total of 4 talents in his pocket, moving up in the world. On the way to admissions, though, he heads to the fishery to see if he has any more money come in, but is distracted when he sees Eloden walking through campus. He can't help but ask Eloden why he wasn't included in this semester's class, the class hinted at by Phila in our last episode. Eloden demurs, insisting that Dahl or Kilvin would be a better place for Kvothe to place his focus. Conversation is interrupted by an angry and insulting Hem as he tries to navigate the hallway that Kvothe and Eloden are somewhat blocking. He issues insults and barbs at both of them as he roughly shoulders past them. Elodin is far too worried that Kvothe doesn't have the patience for naming, but Kvothe follows him, doggedly persisting that he is ready. Finally, Elodin offers him a challenge to prove himself. Cue Frodo. That's because we've been here before. Kvothe falls for it again, breaking into a locked door, assisting Elodin with gathering armfuls of robes and burning them in the hearth, all while persisting with the question, why do you want to teach me naming? Well, at least he didn't jump off a roof this time. Elodin insists that this is the wrong question. And by the time Kvothe realizes these are not Elodin's clothes, nor his room, the work of burning Hem's wardrobe is already complete. The lesson, according to Elodin, Kvothe knows he is clever. That is his problem. He thinks he knows what he's getting into, but he doesn't. Regularly. Go jump off a roof. Kvothe explodes at Elodin. Through the smoke, demanding answers. If I'm so reckless and ill-considered, teach me. Elodin, befuddled, replies, what makes you think I'm not teaching you?
Mm.
Elodin bids farewell by advising that Kvothe wash up before admissions, as they will be looking for the culprit of this crime. End of chapter.
Elodin is so weird, bro. I
I
can't
love
figure the
him.
dude out.
I think everything he does in here makes total sense. You
Hey,
don't? I mean,
well,
it's a little drastic to break into someone's rooms and burn all their clothes. I don't mean that that's sensible, but the way he's handling Kvothe makes total sense.
okay, start at the top for me. To me, it kind of feels almost like an Anakin Skywalker situation where he's almost too powerful, prideful, everything to teach. Um, but break it down for me. What makes sense to you?
Well, the way Elodin puts it is,
Too eager to
I
be
think,
properly patient, too proud to listen properly, too clever by half. Sorry, interrupted.
yeah,
Just wanted to
no,
add that context.
you named, yeah, you hit it right on the head. I
Hmm.
mean, I think his biggest fear, and it's kind of if you go back to the lesson with Ben, right? When he mistakenly pushed the air into his own lungs and didn't have the force to push it out and couldn't breathe, and Ben had to like throw him to the ground and like fix it with his own
Yeah,
magic.
nice callback. Yeah.
Kvothe assumes when he thinks he learns something, he assumes things and just does them, thinking it's going to be okay. He's way too reckless, assuming the answers to things that he thinks
Yeah.
he knows when he doesn't know them.
You are reckless.
Exactly. There's so much
Mm-hmm.
danger in naming. And if Kvothe thinks he has it, he's just going to go with it. And you need to be careful with naming. You can't just run off and do it because bad things can happen.
That totally jives with what he says to him. You assume you know what you're getting into, but you don't. You think you can trust me to teach you. You think I will keep you safe. That is the worst sort of foolishness.
Exactly. He,
So,
he just needs to be more cautious, period.
yeah,
And he
yeah.
hasn't shown
Hmm.
any willingness to be cautious in like any phase of his life. So Elodin is like, this kid's a genius. He could be the best namer around, but there's no way I can let him do that.
He's
He'll
gonna go
he'll
blow
hurt
up a
somebody
city or
and
yeah,
or kill a king or something, right?
right. And
Slow down,
then
you go too fast. You got to make the morning last, the 59th Street Bridge song from Simon and Garfunkel. He wants to go too fast on everything, right? Just you got to slow down, man. Like this is I know you're young and impetuous and you want to do things and you are really good at everything. So I get why you aren't very hesitant sometimes, but this is the kind of thing you have to slow down for. You're going to
sure.
hurt somebody. You already did. You hurt
You,
Ambrose, right?
yeah. Hmm.
Then
Well explained. Well explained. Um, good. I love it. Yep. Makes perfect sense to me now. Thank you.
yeah.
Uh,
Loden is weird though. I will agree with you in one case because he's just this kind of weird guy, but then he has moments where what is it? For a moment it felt like I was being thrust underwater without the pressure to be able to draw a full breath. And all Loden did was like look him in the eye and like
yeah.
I don't know, like um they talked I think it was the end of the last book where Loden was talking to him about seeing and naming and Where Raylar is a seer versus a namer, right? All these things. And it almost feels like he was looking inside Kvothe to see his like, I don't know, his true name or like his essence, right? That Elodin just he can kind of just like turn it on, you know, but he doesn't
And
use
then
it all the time. Maybe
turn it
another
off and be the
example,
goofball.
right?
Hmm.
Maybe another kind of lesson about like slow down. You don't want to use this all the time, right? Like you got to use it in choose your moments and be careful with them. But he
Yeah,
clearly is doing something to Kvothe here that we don't really understand.
because of maybe the volatility of it, right?
Yeah, maybe.
And
Yeah. I mean, if he
yeah,
had kept looking and not been distracted by Hem's insults, would would he have could he have hurt Kvothe just by looking at him?
he could have.
Right?
Yeah, maybe he was going to make a point with that. Okay, so Hem's insults were
Mm-hmm.
ridiculous.
Quarter wit.
Um, yeah, to both of them.
Mm-hmm.
What a loser.
Yeah.
So at first, when I first read it, and I kind of breezed through my first read, I'm just gonna
Mm-hmm.
read it. It kind of felt like Elodin was going in there to actually do that to Hem's quarters all along.
Oh, mm-hmm.
But upon further read, it looks like that was a split second decision he made following the insult, right?
Yes.
He even says, nobody talks to me like that or whatever.
Which
But
is also hilarious because he's just cautioning Quoth to be more careful and not be so, so impassioned in his choices, and yet he's doing this thing, right?
but he's not using any magic to do it, I
That's
guess.
true. That's true. That's true. My
So
favorite part, I
that's
guess, is
okay.
that after burning the robes, he closes the flue just so the smoke permeates the whole room and
Just
ruins
goes
it.
in there even more.
Yeah,
And,
it's pretty great.
and they stay in there for a while after that.
Yes,
He's
yes,
not just like, okay, let's go outside and finish
yes,
this chat.
yes. Whose apartments are these? That is the right question. We've also
Aha.
accepted, why don't you have a key for this room and what are we doing here?
Which does go to prove his point. He just
Yes.
follows him. He just
Yeah.
follows Elodin blindly.
I mean, he picks a
Mm.
lock. What how do you not like I don't want to say Quoth is morally bankrupt or anything, but how is the answer to there's a locked door in front of us? Yes, morally and ethically, I should pick that and get you in there.
Right.
How, like, he's just so turned on by the fact that it's a test, like that he's like, okay, let's do it. I'll prove
It's
myself.
that and just yeah, and that wanting to prove himself
Yeah,
to Elodin specifically,
yeah,
right? Was also a big thing. Oh yeah, I can do that.
yeah.
Right? Pretty
Logan's
funny.
just like a master of manipulation,
It's so funny.
but he doesn't seem that way. He seems, you know, unassuming and
There's
almost
weird descriptions of him
bafflingly,
too.
yeah.
Like at the beginning of the chapter, he kind of describes him as like looking younger than he had before.
Mm-hmm.
There's all these really like seemingly innocuous
Mm-hmm.
but strange descriptions of him, you know? But
Do you think it means something?
I think it's interesting that he keeps describing him in weird ways like that.
Yeah.
But
Like
he looked out of
it's hard to
place in
get a
his
feel for him.
uh-huh.
Like we talk about seeing, right? And like if you can really see a Loden, you could know his name, you could understand him. But maybe a Loden like purposefully maintains this mysterious shifting, I don't know, persona.
Persona slash appearance.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, he looked out of place. His hair was tousled and his face was too young, almost boyish. Anyways, it's kind of
Interesting.
weird.
It
I don't know
is.
what to think of it, but
I don't either. He's certainly, yeah, there's theories out there. but but yeah, we'll leave it at that. Um hmm. I, I mean we don't know, but it's likely that he's one of the most powerful namers in the world. And he's
sure.
this weird walking
Contradiction.
buffoony kind of character most of the time. Um, like is this like it's just wild, right? Like he's maybe the one most powerful namer in the world, and he's reduced to breaking into his rival's room and burning his wardrobe. Like
Hmm.
this is you don't have anything better to do with your time. You're the most powerful namer in the world. Like, what are you doing?
It's Yoda on Dagobah vibes.
A little bit. Yeah. Yep.
But,
Yeah.
and just like the Yoda on Dagobah vibes, you're left thinking like, is he doing this to throw people off? Like, is
Yeah.
Yoda digging into Luke's foodstuffs and everything
Hmm.
and acting
It's a
all
test.
goofy to kind
Yeah.
of test how see how Luke will treat him? Um,
Yeah.
is Elodin also trying to get at something?
Right.
But it's a weird dude,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah. Really weird, to be honest, what Yoda and Obi-Wan do, right?
I try not to think about them too hard because the more I do,
Like
like,
you just ran away and hid from kids that needed your guidance. Were you're just giving up? I mean, yeah, I don't want to be too hard on them either, but like you're just giving up on the galaxy? Like, Yoda has his no, there's another thing, right? Like they didn't really give up hope, but how long were you gonna wait?
right.
If Leia didn't
While
come
things are
find you, was
getting
there a
worse and
plan?
worse, right?
Right? Like, were you gonna do anything?
Yeah.
Luke's been, one desert away from Obi-Wan for 17 years. When were you gonna start?
Were you ever going to start?
Right.
Or were you just going to always keep an eye on him? But
And to what point? To what end?
yep.
If you're not gonna like, welcome to this episode of the Star Wars podcast. Uh anyway, we
Yep.
could talk about that forever.
The Obi-Wan series sheds a little bit of light on that, but
Mm, I should watch that
you do
again.
leave yourselves with a lot of questions. It it it's better upon rewatch going into
Really?
it knowing what to expect and with a little bit of tempered expectations.
Okay.
I think it's actually quite nice.
Hmm.
There are a few things I don't like, but that's Star Wars.
Yeah, I mean, I really didn't love it the first time, but there were
Yeah,
parts I liked.
I liked it too, and I liked it more the second time I watched it.
Okay. Well, maybe I'll give it another try. A little Star Wars out.
That's
I am
fine.
rewatching Andor though.
That's a good
Andor
one to
is,
rewatch.
yeah. Anyway,
So
should we
good.
move on?
A
Do you have
civil
more?
tongue.
Do you have more for chapter 8?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I've got
Civil
even
tongue.
less for a civil tongue, but it's a great chapter.
I don't have a ton either.
It kind of speaks for itself. So,
And my summary is rather short for me anyway.
well.
As Kvothe attends admissions, he realizes that the masters are likely just as tired as he is. It's an arduous process for them, maybe even worse than it is for the students. Maybe they should fix it and make it better. The admissions go reasonably
Oh,
normally,
you
though
think?
Brand though Brander asks a question about world positioning navigation that Kvothe can't answer, and after that, Elodin calms the room with a booming voice and asks a question Kvothe can't answer in a different way. What happens to the moon when it is no longer in our sky? Hmm. Kvothe couldn't answer, and the questions rolled on. Math, sympathy, artificing, all easy for Kvothe. But when it comes finally to him, he asks him directly, "Did you set fire to my rooms, you ravel bastard?" I mean, he kind of had. We just read it. Well, not to the rooms, I guess, but to the clothes in the room. The taste of plum fills Kvothe's mouth, and he
Ugh.
responds to the insulting term without filter. "I didn't set fire to your rooms, but I wish I had, and I wish you'd been in there when it started sleeping soundly." He is immediately warned to keep a civil tongue.
Jeez.
Kvothe responds with an easy apology as the taste of plum fades, explaining that rabble is a term that makes light of the slaughter of thousands of his people. The chancellor seems to accept this explanation and even admonishes Hema for the question before, asking for the etymology of the word. I didn't say that very well. He admonishes Hem for the question
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
before then asking for the etymology of the word from Kvothe, dating back to a proclamation that essentially allowed for the fining, imprisonment, or transportation without trial of any of those traveling rabble on the roads, essentially Kvothe's people, the Rue. That's the etymology. The Chancellor thanks Kvothe for his explanation, and the masters confer for his tuition. End of chapter. It's a little bit of a weird ending to the chapter. It's like, here's
Yeah.
this definition of the word. Okay, thank you for that. And the chapter just
And we're
kind of
done.
ends. It's weird. Anyway, uh, man, What is
So I've got the note about the repeat of Monet's question by Elodin,
yes.
the spades.
I love Eldon's joke in the middle too. When one of them, Mandrag, I think is going to pass, not ask any questions.
Hmm.
And he like suggests, hopefully, he's good with questions about spades. Oh, Eldon.
It's true. So they can just pass on questions. I imagine they're so tired at that point, they're just like, pass. I don't even care. Like,
Yeah, that it could be part of that. It could
I
be
never see
that
this guy.
I never see him, and also it could be a sign, a little bit of like, I already know I'm going to rake this guy over the coals as hard as I can. I don't care about asking him questions.
Yeah.
I'm gonna argue for higher as high a tuition as I can argue.
I'm gonna
And
discriminate because
yeah,
I can,
right.
and
So
we've
like
a system set up that allows us to do that.
yeah, it's like a statement of apathy and power, right?
Totally. It almost, I just thought of this, but these guys get to decide tuition and everything. How much of that are they pocketing themselves? We saw Hem's quarters that they were like lavish and beautiful,
Mm-hmm.
right? And
Yeah,
you're like, oh,
yeah.
okay.
I
Yep.
mean, how easy would it be to set up a system with every student in your class and just be like, look, I'll argue you bring me a talent tomorrow, I'll argue your tuition down.
Mm-hmm.
Like just bribery, straight bribery,
Yep.
right?
Well, just there's no checks and balances
No.
on tuition setting.
Yeah.
There's no one
Yeah.
above them. There's no investigatory committees that look into the fairness of tuition setting. It's just boom. Oh, and you got to
Yep.
pay it by tomorrow. No
Yep.
finance options. Pay
Yeah,
it
it's
or you're
ridiculous.
out. And so you keep the poor people poor. They can't ever get into the university because they can't afford that kind of stuff. And
Yeah.
it's just ridiculous. But that's my broken record.
Also, like, maybe it's just for simplicity of storytelling, but like, are there just seven teachers or eight?
Good
Like,
question. They
because
don't
like we don't
ever.
meet any other teachers. It's just like these
Mhm.
eight dudes. There are people like, like Manet and in positions of like training and stuff like that, but like teachers, professors, it feels like this is all we get.
Right.
But him should be fired like immediately. Like, can you imagine a high-ranking official at a university getting away with spouting a racial slur like that and not backing down and like sticking to it and like they'd be
Right.
gone immediately, right?
Right.
Like it's you know.
It's just crazy. I friggin' hate the university so much, Scott.
I didn't I didn't hate it until I talked to you about it. And I'm like, yeah, it's pretty bad.
Uh, but
I
yeah,
mean, where else can you go to learn magic though?
exactly. And they know that. The
Yeah,
masters know that.
yeah, it's true.
They 100% know it. The only other note I have on here is a fun, silly note that I
Oh,
found while I was researching one of our Devi After Dark things. Um, Arwile asks Kvothe, what are the medicinal properties of menka,
Minka.
some sort of substance, right?
Hmm.
Clear back in book one, we're going for a big time reach around, clear back to Name of the Wind towards the beginning.
Hmm.
You'll remember that there's a scene at the inn where they've actually got a lot of people there, and one of the people starts to recognize Coat. Remember that?
Okay, yeah,
As
yeah.
Kvothe. And Coat pulls over Bast and he says, you need to give this guy something to help him fall asleep and make him look like he's drunk, but make him like pass
And
out
it
so he
was
doesn't
Menka.
remember any of this. And it's Menka.
That's awesome.
He says, give him Menka, which is, as described here, powerful anesthetic, a powerful catatoniate. Yeah. It has a whole sack full of complicated secondaries. But yeah, so
Right.
just a fun little callback.
Yeah.
Kvothe knew what it was because he learned about it at the university.
Yes. As I assume it seems like he retains all that information
Yeah.
forever.
Right.
except how to do sympathy, apparently. In the last chapter where he was coming home to his room, he just like with ease just like lights a fire
Hmm.
and he can't summon that to fight the demon.
To fight
He's just lost it.
to fight the Egger.
He remembers Menka,
He remembers Manka.
but he can't do sympathy anymore, I
I found
guess.
that completely by accident.
Yeah.
It's such a weird term that it happened to be in one of the chapters I was looking back
And you
at
just
that I went,
recognized it.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
oh yeah.
Right.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Anyways,
Uh Again, we had this weird moment with Elodin with his voice where he like booms and it's just like,
it's like things get dark or heavy for a minute. Like
yeah, I almost think of it like you know that scene in Lord of the Rings where Gandalf is like,
exactly.
do not I can't remember what he says now. That's embarrassing that I forgot it now, but
Ah,
I'm not trying to rob you.
he says it
Trying
to
to help
Bilbo,
you.
huh? Yeah, he
Yeah.
says it to Bilbo.
Bilbo Baggins, do not take me for a conjurer of cheap tricks. Something, right?
Hmm.
But like, I remember in the theater feeling like he definitely grew. I saw him grow. And then I'm watching it and I was like, no, it's just like they change the light and it makes him seem like he gets bigger.
Right.
And it's just really good filmmaking. But it almost feels like that. Like it's almost like a, well, I know Gandalf says it isn't a parlor trick, but like almost like it's just a trick. Like he can just kind of change the timbre of his voice such that it has this world changing
It adds like
impact.
weight, like almost like
Yes.
gravity increases in the
Right.
room or something. Or
Yeah. It's weird, man. Anyway, he did it again.
maybe it has something to do with naming, knowing the
Maybe.
name of the wind or something. Oh, that actually makes sense. Like Kvothe felt like he couldn't catch his breath.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like wind.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Right.
Oh man, we are such good analysts of this text.
uh,
We are Rothfuss scholars.
that's right.
They should rename the Reddit King Killer Reddit to be Matt and Scad University.
What he demanded, his voice going harder on the edges. You want me to take this song and dance more seriously? You want me to ask him questions only a namer can answer? The other master still at this, looking uncomfortable and refusing to meet his eye. Fine, Elodin said. His eyes were dark. His voice had a strange resonance to it. It wasn't loud, but when he spoke, it seemed to fill the entire hall. It left no space for any other sound.
Yeah. Knowing the
Where
name of
does
the
the
wind,
moon
baby.
go when it is no longer in our sky? Wow. Hmm.
Yep. The other
We could cover
masters
that.
they don't like this guy. They
Yeah,
think he's crazy. They're also scared to death of him.
they seem to be. Although, you know, Hema did just shoulder him to the side in the hallway and call him a half-wit. So
Hmm.
I don't know. It's like a, I was gonna say more mature, but maybe it's even less mature feud that like Ambrose and both have.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like kind of
Or
similar.
Hem kind of lets him push him around a little, or Loden lets him kind of push him around like that to a point, and then he kind of just
Hmm.
reminder, reminder,
Yes,
reminder.
you can't get away with this.
Yeah.
I'm powerful enough to burn your clothes without naming at all. Anyway, uh, you got anything else for this chapter?
No, don't. It's a
Let's
great
move on.
chapter. I
I
actually
mean,
really like this chapter.
yeah, it's a fun chapter. I like any of the admissions chapters where he's talking to the masters.
Hmm.
Seems like you just get stuff out of them. Yeah,
Sure. Yep. Being treasured.
yeah, this is a doozy too.
Yeah. But I actually get through it pretty quick.
Okay,
So let's do it. Let's get there.
let's do it.
Well, at least Quoth knows what he has to shoot for. 9 talents and 5. 9 talents and 5.
9 talents.
To be paid by the next day, of course, because why not? At noon. After collecting some of his profits from sales made from items made at the fishery, he's up to 6 talents,
Hmm.
which would have meant, I mean, 1 talent. Remember where he was when he first got to the university? 1 talent was huge. Now he's not satisfied with 6. It's crazy.
I mean, remember where he was in Tarbine?
Yeah. Yep. The money was on his mind as he made his way to the Gray Man. That's the place where Denna told him she was staying in our last episode. Her room there was lovely, furnished among other things with a huge Modegan great harp. I imagine that just being one of those big monster ones. It's like a grand piano that like you put it in a room and it stays in that room because it's so big. It was lovely and she was lovely too, and very appreciative of the gifts he'd brought for her. 2 packets of herbal combinations she could drink or inhale to help with the respiratory issues, which she brought up during their little jaunt with the Dracus. The fact that he remembered this detail about her meant more than any gift she'd been given before. You could tell she was very thankful for it. She plays a bit of the harp for Kvothe, as Kellen Blockjaw had been teaching her. The performance was imperfect, but her timing and feel for the song were impeccable. Kvothe's level of enchantment with Denna shoots through the roof at this display of musical intuition. As they further visited in her lavish rooms, sipping delicious hot chocolate brought to them by Denna's personal waiter slash porter, Denna admitted that while she appreciated some of the perks of this lifestyle she's currently living, she was also chafing under the lock and key. Essentially, she was tied to Kellen if she wanted to maintain this situation. And he, of course, knew where she was at all times, and it felt very restrictive. It reminded Kvothe of his father. Still, Denna liked that Kvothe was there. Perhaps with that statement ringing in his ears, Denna likes that Kvothe is around. Kvothe made his way to another important woman in his life, the friendly but ruthless moneylender, Devi. He asked her for a 4 talent loan, which already seemed like a lot to him. He's just thinking about that interest, but was dismayed to find that to offset risk to herself, she'd made some adjustments to her business. Her minimum loan offering was 6 talents at 50% interest over just a 2 month period. And with Kvothe's lack of collateral, she was unwilling to cut him any sort of deal to make that more agreeable to him. Unless, unless Kvothe was willing to share information with her, namely, how to get into the archives. She would buy the information from him. This has nothing to do with a loan at this point. 10 talents, they're yours. All she needs to know is how to get into the archives. If she gets caught, she'll deny it was him that gave her the information. Okay, not 10, 20. I'll give you 20 talents right now. No, 40 talents. She'll give him 40 talents. That's a life changing amount of money. Thinking mostly of Ari and her privacy down in the underthing, Kvothe really didn't have to consider long before refusing Devi's offer. She was displeased, angry even, and as she finalized his loan, stamping about, like me telling kids doing chores when I tell them they have to do it. Uh, as she finalized this loan, taking the necessary of drops of blood, she promised, I'm getting in there one way or another. Talk to your friend. If you're the one that helps me, I'll make it worth your time. Thus ends the chapter.
Yep. Why do you think she wants him there so bad? Is
The
it
only
just
th-
books? Is it
it's
just she just loves books?
it's books, or we've got that little magic
The door?
section there. Yeah,
Yeah.
we've got that too.
Right.
Maybe
Yeah.
the door opens upon a bunch of ninjas fighting in a room with machine guns.
Yes.
I've just always wanted to do that.
Wayne's World again. It's like the well we keep going back to.
If Wayne's World and Monty Python, bro.
Yeah.
I love it.
So 40 talents, like without blinking.
Yeah,
Debbie's rich. Like she's rich.
right. She's loaded.
Like loaded, loaded.
Yeah. Which is
Sh
interesting that she still is allowing herself to stay kind of in the situation that she's in, right? Living above the butcher shop.
yeah.
Like
Yeah. She
she
says
loves
something in an
playing the
early
game.
chapter about, relocating and then not being able to be found by her clientele or something. I think she says
Hmm.
something like that. But yeah, it is weird. I mean, at some point, a lot of people that have like these somewhat illegal businesses, sometimes once they get enough, they go straight, right? Like they buy a car wash, right? Or like,
It is very Walter Whitish. You
yes,
can't get out, man. You can't get out.
I guess not. Yeah, or she doesn't want to, but
Yeah, I think that's what it is. It's you can't because you don't want to.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it's interesting. But it still feels very much to me like she has a different goal somehow with this
Hmm.
desire for the library, right?
And that's why she's staying close to the university because she's almost like looking for that opportunity, looking for that right
Yeah.
time,
I
you
mean,
know.
let me put it a different way. She could buy all sorts of books for 40 talents.
Sure.
She can send a runner to Tarbine with a list of 50 books she wants,
Yep.
and she could easily get them, right? So it feels like it's more than just the books. That's all I'm saying.
Well, she even talks,
She's got
yeah.
something else going on.
I don't cover it in my summary because it didn't seem essential to the moving the story forward, but there's a moment in there where she's got a little bookshelf in
Yeah.
her house. It's not like she has a huge book collection,
Hmm.
but the book she has there, she talks about how she'd gotten this one that's worth more than Kvothe's life, she says.
Which
And
doesn't mean much
it's
because
not.
both
He has
life probably
nothing.
doesn't mean much to
Yeah,
her, but
it doesn't. But she talks about how she got it. She flippantly, I got it because a guy couldn't pay off his loan, and so
yeah,
I got to have my choice of his books, and I found this one. Like it's not, to your point, it's not difficult for her to obtain these things.
yeah.
So it's something else.
She's yeah. I mean, she very much. I get the sense with Quoth, she wants him to default on the loan so that she can demand access to the archives. Right? Surprised she
Sure.
stopped at 6. I'm surprised she didn't make her minimum 10 or 20. Be like, yeah, just minimum of 20.
Do you think that she made up that rule right then on the spot?
Totally.
Yeah.
I think. I mean, I mean, I don't know. Maybe not.
So that she could make that demand of him.
I think she
Yeah.
very much wants him to default on his loan. Yeah.
Yeah. Or at least feel like
Like he doesn't want to take the
he's
loan.
backed into a corner. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Right.
he's got to listen. You can either pay me an exorbitant amount of money
Hmm.
or I can give you an exorbitant amount of money that's just
Right.
yours. I
Exactly.
don't know.
Debbie.
Bro, I hate to say it about myself. I think I might have gone to the bag of money, bro.
I
I think I might have reached for the bag.
don't know. I know you pretty well. I don't think you'd turn on a friend like that.
It is really sweet. He doesn't, like I said in my summary, he hardly takes a moment to think about it.
Yeah.
And it's like, nope, I can't do that to Ari.
Yeah. Yes.
It's really
I,
sweet.
yeah. I think for all quotes, selfishness and you know, um, lack of concern sometimes about keeping people informed and things like that. He's good in the macro. Like he's good at the big things.
Hmm.
I mean, I guess you could argue that bringing the pouches for Denna are small things, but um, I used to talk with Tyrion in The Songways and Fire that he's really bad in the micro and he's good in the macro. Like he's good about making decisions and doing things for large groups of people, not people
Mm.
he's familiar with or knows personally, but just like making the right morally even good call for like groups of people,
I see
right?
what you're saying.
And
Yep.
stuff. But he's
Hmm.
awful in the micro, like maybe the worst character in the entire series at interpersonal relationships, like right, like
Sure.
really bad. I feel
Sure.
like Kvothe is kind of similar. That like when it matters, he gets it right. When it's big and important, he gets it right. But he screws up all the time
Sure.
interpersonally.
Hmm. Yeah. And then he has these moments. Ari seems to
Yes.
be like his anchor to staying sweet, to
Yeah.
going completely to the side of just like pure
Yeah.
selfishness.
It's a protection
Yeah.
big brother thing, like you've been saying, right? It's like a almost like the you can't eat a stone, can't walk through a wall. It's like, well, no, I I can't betray Ari, right? Like
Right.
I can't.
Hmm.
It's like a violation of physical properties or something.
Yeah. And even like we talked about last episode, he's tired after a long day. He's hungry, but he's
Hmm.
still taking that food. He's
Yep.
taking that time to go see her and make sure she's taken care of.
Yeah.
So sweet. Uh,
Can we
yeah.
go back
So
to
sweet.
Denna a little bit?
Yeah. Yeah.
Actually,
This is,
not even Denna for a minute. I want to
ooh,
talk about Jeffrey.
oh, the cute little guy.
Well, what the hell, man? Why? What purpose does this guy even serve?
That's why he's not in the summary.
Noted. But like, it's such a weird little departure from the story. We get like a half a page with this guy interacting awkwardly. We get Denna's opinion of him, like, oh, yeah, he's hanging out here and he's super sweet and nice, but man, what a buffoon. Like he'll never get it right. He makes nothing but mistakes. Why show us that?
Yeah. It's almost like maybe it's to show us that there's no, I hate to reduce Denna to this, but she talks about it that she sometimes feels like she doesn't have a choice. She has to go where the money is
Hmm.
sometimes, you know? And so she's willing to leave no stone unturned almost. And this kid, Jeffrey, is he's kind of a, he comes from, he's stupid, but he comes from money. It
Yeah.
sounds like, right?
So it's just another iron in the fire for her.
Maybe. But it goes to describe his appearance as he's dressed
Yeah.
nicely, but it's rumpled. His face looks kind of haggard. His hair's kind of undone. It kind of almost made me think that maybe like Kellen is involved in something sinister,
Mm,
and Jeffrey got caught up in it, and maybe Denna's even kind of a little caught up in it.
mm.
You know what I mean? Like, because she later tells Quoth, like, people know, like, Kellen knows who comes and goes from this place.
Yeah.
And so having this little boy who comes around every once in a while, I don't know how much Kellen would like that. He's obviously not going to like that Quoth came by either, though. So
Maybe that's why she has him come around
just to like,
because Kellen's not threatened by him. Maybe.
maybe, or
I
maybe
mean,
it's
she
kind of her
paints
way
him
to
as
push back is the against
no
the fetters that she feels she's wearing.
strictures.
It's like, well, if you're going to keep me here, like, I'm going to have over whoever I want to.
Yeah, he's a sweet boy. If he were a little less sweet, he might be able to fit two thoughts in his head at the same time. I mean, she does not think highly of this guy.
No.
Maybe they'd rub together and make a spark. Even a little smoke would be nice.
And she
Then
even
at
goes
least
so
something would
far.
be happening in there.
But to him, she's like, he's a poet. He's an
Yes.
amazing poet.
Yes.
And he's like, no, I'm not.
Yeah. Part of me wondered if Pat was throwing him in there to be like, that's how, like, I doubt it, but is that how she talks about Kvothe to other people that come around?
Yeah.
Does she
Is it
talk
meant to
about
kind of plant a
like a
seed
foil or
about,
like a, yeah,
yeah, yeah. No, that's a fair question.
imagine a really sarcastic take on Kvothe. It's like if somebody came in and Kvothe was just about to leave and they're like, who's that guy? And she's like, oh, Kvothe, he's such a good musician, but he'll never figure out how to make any money. Like
Hmm.
he's socially incapable, and like she could say some mean things about him. Like I wonder if she does.
Yep.
Like flattering right to his face, flattering this guy, and the minute he's out the door,
He's like,
this guy's terrible.
I went camping with this guy. It was freaking awful. He left me in the middle of the night. Like,
Like, yeah. I mean, she could tell all sorts of stories about him, right?
hmm.
That wouldn't be flattering. I don't know that she has any motive to, I guess, but like, I think it's just weird. It's a weird character to show
Oh,
up.
that's fair.
I
Like,
don't
is
know
it
what
meant
he's
to
doing
plant a
here.
little bit of a seed of doubt?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah. Anyway,
because he is younger, like Kvothe? And is it meant
yep,
to plant a seed of doubt in Kvothe or in the reader or both?
yeah.
Like, yeah,
Or neither. Maybe it's just like what you said. It's indicative that she's got him. She keeps him coming. She keeps the line
all
available.
avenues open. Yeah,
Right. Maybe.
yeah.
Huh.
And it's a survival thing for her, you
Yeah.
know?
Right. Yeah, I
Yeah.
didn't mean it negatively. Just
Nah,
but
neither did
that's her
I.
lifestyle.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
She plays and Kvothe falls in. I mean, I don't know how many times he can fall in love with her, but he falls in love with her all over again.
bro. Yeah,
I mean, we already got the comparison to the lute. Now you're in love with her after hearing her play. Now it didn't do it when she joined in the duet. How many times did he
right.
fall in love with this girl? Uh, but when she plays, she mentions that maybe she's kind of casually says maybe I have a knack for it. And you remember the term knack from before
Mm.
in book one. Abinthy is talking with Kvothe about different types of magic and things. And one of the things that's not very explainable that used to get, people in trouble are these things that Abinthy called knacks, right? And Kvothe says that
Oh.
somebody in the troop always rolls sevens. And the guy's like, no, they're just loaded dice. Abinthy's like, they're just loaded dice. I'm sure he's like, no, doesn't matter. Get new dice, bring him. He throws sevens. Close his eyes, throw it against a wall, sevens. Always sevens. And Abinthy's like, oh, maybe he does have a knack. And they also say, like, oh, um, somebody that can always get things to grow, no matter what the conditions are. Those are kind of
Hmm.
the two examples I remember of a knack. So I wonder if, we've talked about Denna maybe being special in some way. Does she have just a knack for music? She picks this up real fast, right? Kvothe
Yeah.
is talented, but we know he practices all the time.
It's got a
Sh
strong foundation.
This is now at least, we know she can sing. This is at least her second instrument, and she kind of seems to pick them up pretty quick.
Hmm.
Does she have, a knack for music like this?
Mm. Good callback, man. And maybe with if she's got a knack for music. I put down a note here that, when I'm reading that chapter 6, this is all to your point, but I'm taking kind of a roundabout way to get there. When I was reading chapter 6, I started thinking to myself, okay, so Denna represents the instrument
Hmm.
that Kvothe plays. She is the way by which he expresses himself artfully,
Mm.
right? Is kind of through Denna. But then after this chapter, where he says stuff like, someday I wanted to be kissed with that amount of slow, deliberate care, the
Hmm.
way she plays an instrument. So in chapter 6, she's the instrument. In chapter 10, she's the musician.
Hmm.
She is both the instrument and the musician to Quoth, right? You could
Hmm.
probably say she's the music too.
Yeah.
Um, and it's
Yep.
like, so when you look at Quoth's strict avoidance of music at the inn as coat,
Hmm.
does it
Yeah.
come back to calling back those painful memories of her?
Yeah.
I'm going back to the stuff he talks about with Ari. Those were the worst memories, the ones that were precious and perfect. He's talking about his mother and laying
The
on her
music and
lap and
singing to her. Yeah.
spending time with his dad and everything, but mostly about his mom. Is that music? Is that part of his avoidance of the music? Right?
Yeah. It could be. And
Memories
also
of
it
Denna.
like it's it's part of his like kryptonite almost too, right? Like
Sure.
um if she has this knack, if she has this kind of just natural musicality and it's already kind of imprinted on his identity like this, like he just doesn't stand a chance. Like she can play him like an instrument, right? Like that's
Absolutely.
just
Yeah.
that's just what she's about. And yeah, if it ends up bad, we don't know. But if it ends up bad, yeah, does he just put the music behind him? He's like, no.
Yeah.
Still weirded
Yeah.
out, to be honest, about that chapter early in the Name of the Wind, where Kvothe does sing when those visitors came by.
Hmm.
Why did he do that? It almost feels like a mistake. I'm sure it isn't. I'm sure Pat's got a
Like
reason, but like it
takes a
almost feels
dip.
like a mistake,
Yeah.
right? Because he's so against it in those prologues and
Hmm.
epilogues, and
Dips his toe.
yeah,
Yeah. Um, right. It's fascinating, this whole music motif that we're really digging into now
yeah, yeah.
with Denna and the music. But, um, what else you got, pal?
Um, he covers it really well, but when you did in your summary too of they're not my rooms if I'm not free to come and go, and it feels kind of like a prison as much as it is a place to stay. But, um,
Yeah.
to the we kind of talked about the Rue before, and like seems like staying anywhere for too long felt like a prison to them, right? Which
Hmm.
is interesting that Kvothe is now kind of settling in.
Yeah, that's I liked that. It hit me. I think part of his enchantment with Denna is she reminds him a lot of his dad.
Mm,
She's got this knack for music.
hmm
She can't stay still, right? He talks about his dad and his
hmm
dad couldn't stay in one place for long and everything. I think that's part of the enchantment. His dad was his hero, right?
Yeah,
And he sees a
yeah.
lot of that in Denna.
She's also, yeah, you said can't sit still. Like she's always on the move.
Hmm.
Yeah, I mean, maybe it just kind of partially reminds him of his other life,
His other life.
right?
Yeah.
Something he can never really get back. But
Now he's like, oh my gosh, my dad was such a good musician and you're good at it too. Crap.
yeah, you had me at hello.
For sure. I love what he talks about with the music. A music box can play a song flawlessly again and again, but knowing the notes isn't enough. You have to know how to play them.
Mm.
That's really lovely. You know, how we've talked about
Albums or live shows, man,
throwing
right?
copper, but yeah.
Live, live.
Um, Joe Satriani.
What about him?
You're a Satch fan, right? We've talked about Joe Satriani before,
I mean, I wouldn't say I'm a fan. I know him,
which
not
is great.
not personally. I know who he is. I've
Guys, if
listened
you
to
don't
some of
know
his
Joe
stuff,
Satch,
but
brilliant guitarist.
yeah,
And apparently he's been learning there's rumblings that
he's
members of Van Halen are going to tour,
oh,
and Joe Satriani is going to sit in for Eddie Van Halen.
okay.
Um, and he's talked about it. He's talked about he's trying to learn Van Halen songs. And he
Uh-huh.
goes, I can play the notes,
Oh, but I can't play the music.
but I
Yeah,
can't play it like Eddie can. Like
yeah,
I'm playing the exact things that Eddie played,
yeah,
correct string, correct fret, correct timing,
yeah,
but I can't get it to sound like him. Or he says it's very difficult to do that
yeah.
because
It's a
of
good
that
comparison.
sense, right?
Yeah, it's
And
a good comparison for this chapter. Yeah,
mm,
yeah. That's also like I'm kind of surprised he's trying. See, I mean, he's such a good. He's one of the best guitarists in the world, uh, and he knows so much about it that even I knew who know little about it would think you shouldn't even try. You got to be your own guitarist. You can't,
right.
when Paul Rogers took over for Queen briefly, like he didn't try to sing those songs, the same. You can't. You can't be Freddie Mercury. You got to do your own thing with these songs. You can't do it the same.
Yeah, it's a really like balance that you have to strike. You like want to pay homage to the original
it has to be
to the Freddy,
recognizable.
right?
Yeah, right. Yeah, yeah,
But if it's a copycat, that's not really honoring the
yeah,
music or the
yeah.
song or yeah.
Right.
Yeah. It's the same thing with the saxophonist who took over in Dave Matthews Band for the
Mm.
saxophonist that died. He talks
Yeah,
about that a lot of
that'd be
like,
a really hard thing. Yeah,
yeah.
carving your own place.
Hmm.
Metallica's had many bassists, right? And it's like,
Yeah.
which,
Cliff was a hard or
yeah,
still big shoes to fill.
right.
But yeah.
And I think the guy they have now, whose name is
Trujillo, Rob.
Trujillo, yeah, Rob
Hmm.
Trujillo's been with them for longer than anybody else ever was. So,
Really? He's been
uh,
with who's
I
the
mean, I
middle
think
guy?
so.
The guy who
Uh,
did Black Album and everything. Oh gosh, he
yeah,
was great. I hate to
Jason Newsted.
Newstead. That's it. Yep. Newstead. Yep.
Um, and then they even had Bob Rock play bass for like two of their albums, I think, who's a
Oh, really?
producer.
Hmm.
Yeah, I think he played bass on two of their albums, maybe. But anyway, yeah, I mean
Rothfuss's
that's
understanding of music is just fantastic. I love it.
yeah.
It resonates. He talks about speed comes with time and practice, but timing
Hmm.
you are born with.
Yeah.
You have it or you
I
don't.
wonder
Like,
if he plays. Does he play?
I would think
I've never
so.
looked. I
Yeah.
wonder.
Have you ever heard Gravity by John Mayer?
Yes. Working
That's
against me.
yeah. Gravity is
Yeah.
working against me.
Yeah.
That's a
Yeah.
brilliant example of what I feel Denna's doing here. Is very
Mm,
simple, but just powerful in the feeling, the timing, the way she's playing it. That song
right.
is so minimalistic,
Yeah.
but it's such an emotional, just like banger. It just like hits you, and you're
Yeah.
just like, you just like scrunch your face when you hear it, and you're just like, oh yeah, John.
It also sounds a little bit like what Kvothe did with Bellwether in the first Eolian
Mm-hmm.
chapter, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
he just took this simple thing that everyone knows and he just made it
Yeah,
different and like timing and just he changed it up, right?
right. Yeah, John Mayer said like he learned on that album that Gravity's on. It's called Continuum. It's John Mayer's best album by far, I think. He learned you can say so much by playing a lot less
Mm.
if you play it with the right feeling, right?
Hmm.
And
Mm.
yeah, I'm adding song as we're talking about
As
them.
we're going, all right.
Got to make it to the playlist. Kalisar, have you listened to the Spotify
The
playlist
Spotify
of our
playlist.
uh Wise Man's Fear playlist? I've got your Simon and Garfunkel song on here. What live song do you want on there for Throwing
Oh,
Copper?
geez.
You want I
They're
Alone? You
they're all
want All
good.
Over You? Do you want Selling the Drama?
I do love selling the drama.
Should we do Selling?
I love Pillars too. They're all good. Pick one.
Hmm. All right.
I mean, Lightning Crashes is like,
The song, right?
yeah. I mean, it feels like a cop out to pick it, but it's so good.
That's another one that's like fairly simple. Like
Mm,
anyone learning to play the guitar can learn how to play that song,
right.
but there's something about it.
Yeah. Though the way it swells, I just love the way it swells.
Yeah.
Just what she said. You got any more for chapter 10?
Um, I like the chocolate and the harp, but I could do without the bell and a whole room just for sitting.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Uh, Great hold steady line where Craig Finn says, I love the party favors, but I hate the party people. Kind of feels something like that.
Little bit.
I think he's
Little
referring to
bit.
drugs in that, but
It's true. I just want to get high, man. Why do I have to be with you to do it? Yeah. Yeah. I'm not a
yeah.
big drug guy, but I can see that.
A lot of his songs are about drugs, which is funny because he doesn't do drugs.
Yeah.
He's like Kerouac, he's an observer. Um, I really like the titles of these chapters and finding different ways that the titles fit.
Mm.
They usually fit in multiple ways.
Mm-hmm.
Like for the admissions chapter, it's called Admissions, and it refers to him preparing for admissions.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, it's also, the Modigan woman admitting her crime.
Mm.
Uh, he admits his platonic feelings for Fela. Uh, his revelations of his suffering, he admits to Ari,
Mm-hmm.
one of the first time he's ever revealed it to another person,
Yes.
right? I love trying to like dig into the chapter titles and figure out how they
Yeah.
fit. And on this one, being treasured. it's an awkward chapter because it's like two chapters
Hmm.
basically. It's
Yeah.
got this
The Denna part and the
then
Devi part.
apart. And he could easily have cut it off and said,
Yeah.
okay, chapter 11 is this part
Yep.
with Devi, right? But he kept them together. Um, and it's called Being Treasured. By Denna, he's treasured for who he is, right?
And by
They're nice.
Devi.
They're nice when you're here, referring to her quarters. She chafes under them, but when you're here, it's nice, Kvothe. He's treasured for who he is. By Devi, he's treasured for what he knows, right? And if she can't give that,
Nice.
if he can't give that to her, then obviously she's upset. But so I just made that note that it's an awkwardly structured chapter in that it feels like it should be two chapters. But when you look at it through the theme of being treasured
Yeah.
in two different ways, it actually fits quite nicely.
Yeah. And also, I think his treasuring of Ari as well, protecting her too
Ooh.
from
Ooh, add that to
from
my
Devi.
list. Lovely.
Yeah.
Very good. I
Yeah.
like that even more. Yep. 100%. 100%. Well said. That's all I got, bro.
All right. Should we Devi After Dark it?
Yeah, let's go to what's probably going to be a brief Devi After Dark. Um, but whether it's brief or it's long, if you do not want to be spoiled, I'd probably say goodbye now. What do you think,
Yeah.
Scad?
Yeah, definitely. We're
I,
gonna we're gonna jump into some spoilers. It's a lot of speculation. Less
that's yeah,
less less we know this to be the case in the future, and more could be this, could be that. These are some options. But
right.
yeah,
Yeah, a lot of spec. So log off, join us next time. Go listen to some of our friends' podcasts. Go listen to back episodes. Hey, House of the Dragon is coming out soon.
oh my
Kalasar season
goodness.
2. Go check out our previously recorded coverage of House of the Dragon season 1. Yeah, I'd give you the episode numbers if I had them on the top of my head, but I don't.
No
But
idea. Somewhere in the 140s, 130s.
yeah, maybe 130s, late 130s,
Yeah,
maybe.
yeah.
Yeah, go check them out.
Hey, we gonna do
They
that
were fun to
again?
record. We need to talk about that,
We gotta
bro.
figure that out. We
We
should
do
have
have to
talked about
figure
that
that
today.
out. Yep, we should have.
Oh,
Oh
it's
boy,
okay. It's coming soon,
so much
right?
to do. I think
June,
like in a couple weeks.
Yeah,
Yeah.
June. Oh gosh. Oh my goodness. Okay.
Goodness gracious.
We gotta, oof, gotta pull this together. Debbie After Dark.
Par for the course. Yep. Devi After Dark.
Where do you want to go?
Um, so where did I put it on
Ugh. Apparently
whoa.
I'm tired.
Yeah, look at you go.
Sorry about that.
Um, okay, so I had a thought about Bast during
Hmm.
Quoth's talk about these men know nothing of love, right? Um, and we like Quoth shut up when
Uh-huh.
I talked about it.
Hmm.
Uh, Bast told Chronicler to stick away from the music, stay away from the music
Yes.
stuff, right? He doesn't
Yes.
want music to come back into Quoth's life. Maybe there's something to that with Denna too, as we've talked about. I almost detect something a little sinister in that. These men know nothing of love. Music equals love equals
Hmm.
Denna equals
Hmm.
freedom for Quoth. It's when he's at his best. When I read Bass saying, I want my Reshi back, it almost feels almost like possessive or
Controlled.
manipulative. Like if he's got music in his life, he's free. If he doesn't,
Yeah.
he's mine. I don't know if I'm reaching too much, but yeah, like my Reshi, my precious. Like,
Yeah. Yeah. No, I can see it that way.
I'm
I can
concerned,
see, I can definitely see it that way. I didn't think about it that way before. I thought of it more like he knows that music was the catalyst to shut him down,
which could
more than it's
be.
such a
Yep.
hot button thing that he'll he'll never get
Could
past
be.
that hurdle. It's a hurdle that's too high.
There's recklessness involved with that. Yeah.
But even that could be translated to a selfish thing. It's like, well, he still needs the music. Whether you think he can get over the bar or not, it's something he needs and deserves to have in his life. And so keeping it from him is selfish.
It's
Well,
enlivens him, right?
yeah,
It's what,
right. Yeah.
yeah.
It feels like it's his, he said it lots of times that, not having a lute would be like not having hands or, whatever. He said a lot of different ways.
Hmm.
The music is really kind of what what really gets inside of him and makes him who he is.
It's how he
So
deals with trauma going
yeah,
back to right after his parents died.
totally.
You know,
Yeah.
yeah, there's so much to it.
Yeah. Bast is yeah, I tend to think he's a good guy. I tend to think if he's keeping this from him, it's not out of malice, it's out of protection. But that doesn't necessarily mean he's right either.
Like misguided, a
Right.
misguided protective instinct.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
yeah,
But
yeah,
but
I could give
you
him
know,
that.
who knows?
And see, I'm leaning more towards Bast as using him as a tool almost. But to
For
use him as
what?
a tool, he needs to get close to him. Yeah, that
What?
remains to be seen.
Yeah, yeah.
I need to read more of these books to to know to see the bigger picture. But
It won't help. We get
awesome.
we just don't get nearly enough about Bass to me.
Yeah, it's got to
It'll
be
be
coming.
interesting to see if this read through with you feels like it enlightens him a little bit more. But
Right.
even reading Arrow
That's
Road Between Desires, it feels not just not enough, not quite enough. But
yeah. Well, we're a good balance to each other. I like that we have these different leanings because I think it
yeah,
stretches us, you know? So,
sure, totally.
all right. Enough of that. What else you got?
I'm interested in the Rue and like what they're doing and where they are
Hmm.
and if because like in the story in the frame of the story, right, where Cote is at the end, we hear constantly just how bad the roads are. Bad roads are bad, roads are bad. Can't be out on the roads. Are the Rue, are they alive?
Good
Have they been
question, bro.
like where are they?
And
Will they play a part somehow?
what are they
Right?
doing? What if they've turned into like these battle-hardened
Hmm.
fighters now that like
Yeah.
they've got a guitar strapped to their back and a sword strapped to their side and
Yeah.
guys.
There I can't remember the theory now. I read it a while ago, but it kind of talked about the Rue being like um the followers of the angels, right? That they
Mm,
were the original followers, maybe even that they were the ones that the traveling justices they became Rue almost, right?
mm-hmm.
Once they were no longer like allowed and kind of were anyway, I want to know what the Rue are doing. You don't hear much about them. Like you have Cloth's troop, and then you
That's
know that
it.
they
Yeah.
generally exist, and
We get a little bit of story building in this chapter.
we get stories about them later, and we get another
Mm.
troop showing up later,
Oh,
but
okay.
it's very brief. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, anyway,
So they're still kicking.
but not in the frame story. I wonder in the frame story, like, are they still? Did they survive the war, or how bad are the roads? Right.
Right.
Um, the where does the moon go when it's not in our sky is an interesting question from Elodin. It might be alluding to something about himself. What we find out later in this book is that the moon is a bit of a bridge between the Fey realm and this world, and that when it's not here, it's like in the Fey
There.
realm, essentially.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I wondered if
and
that's
it
what it was.
it kind of implies maybe that Elodin's interested at least, but maybe has been there in the Fey realm. Maybe he could be a Fae. We talked about the appearance stuff earlier in this episode about like seems to shift and change. We know that Bass talks about grammarly and glamoury and how like he can kind of alter the appearance of
Um,
things and with his magic. So I wonder if there's some of that going on, maybe.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Hmm.
Anyway.
Okay. 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 As always, sometimes my contribution to this is just, huh,
Oh, all right.
as
Yeah.
I look off into the distance, because I really am thinking about it like, oh my goodness.
But to be fair, I'm not, it's not like I'm giving you concrete things to
This
consider. It's more
this
like wonderings.
this book series is not going to be 3 books long. I don't care how long book three is.
Let's just hope we get book three.
Yeah, at this
Uh,
point.
do you want to talk about your three times thing?
Again, nothing concrete, but just notice it. The
Yeah.
importance of the number three apparently in this.
Yeah.
Um, of course, Sim tells Kvothe when he's under the influence of the plum bomb. This is going to get tedious if I have to tell you everything 3 times before you listen, right? And he says, I'm telling you 3 times, stop, right? Um, in Name of the Wind, I had marked the passage when I first said it because I thought it was such a weird thing for Kvothe to say, but he says to Bast, listen 3 times.
Mm-hmm.
And then he makes up a story about his wounded knee. That's where the Menka came up. So
Mm-hmm.
that's where it's nice to have this Kindle edition because I can just look up 3 times, search, and then
Yeah.
it's like a search of ice and fire for me, basically.
Yeah,
Um,
it's nice.
and then Bast replies, I hear you 3 times, Reshi. So it's something that, again, Quoth seems to have carried on,
Yeah.
carried forward this idea of 3 times um, in his interactions with people to mean like, this is important. Listen, like,
Right.
I need you to listen. His chest is sealed 3 times. Uh, when Telu, during the story about Telu, where he's asking the people to cross a line
Mm.
as a symbol of their repentance, right? And they were going to
Mm-hmm.
have to take a little bit of flagellation, but they'd come
Mm-hmm.
out better for it.
Yep.
7 didn't cross, and he gave them 3 chances to do it.
Mm.
Um, Devi, when she's going to spread rumors about Kvothe, she says this will make them think 3 times. Um, Stuff like that.
Yeah.
So pay
It's
attention to that, I guess, going forward.
yeah, it
That
seems like
number
a
three.
it seems like an important number in the universe. Um, we have in A Song of Ice and Fire, we have like the focus on seven, right?
Hmm.
Everything's seven, the faith, and I guess it mostly derives from the faith, but um, yeah, interesting that yeah, it feels like three is it's like a it's at least it feels like it's at least a mental thing where like doing it three times is that'll stick or it's rote or that's the holy way or it's lucky or something, right? Yeah, feels like it
Yep.
means something.
It's almost like, yeah, if you hear something, did I just hear something? Oh, is that what it was said? Oh, yeah, that was it. Uh-huh.
Yes,
Got it. Okay.
reconfirmation. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
So it's interesting. It's a little bit meta. Like for Quoth, it's it's him saying it's like listen closely to this, Bast. If I
Hmm.
say listen 3 times, this means listen closely.
Yep.
And I wonder if Rothfuss is doing the same thing, putting this code in there for us too.
Yeah.
The chest is locked 3 times. Pay attention to that,
Yes. Pay
right?
attention to the three. Yeah. Right.
Telu gave them 3 chances. Pay attention to that.
Yeah.
Um, so I don't have anything concrete to say, no conclusion to draw other than if we see
Every
the
time you
number
see the
three
number
going
three, you're gonna be
forward,
looking. Yeah. Yeah.
pay attention to
That makes
that.
sense. Yeah.
So,
Yeah. I like it. Well,
yeah.
I don't think I have anything else huge.
Mm,
Anything else you want to add?
mm. I agree
Mm.
with you. You've got a note here. If both breaks Ari, I will never forgive him.
Yeah.
I agree with you, brother.
Yeah. I there's yeah, the Ari you said like he doesn't know her name and there's theories that actually he's named her very appropriately that she
Hmm.
is Princess
He's got
Ariel.
that.
I think
Yeah, he's got that ability. Yeah.
we talked about Princess Ariel I think in the last episode or maybe it was two ago. I can't remember, but
Hmm.
um there's theory out there that I found it on Reddit that basically she is Princess Ariel. She's in hiding or something or missing, and that she might be the princess of the king that he ends up killing. And it might be because she's in love with him, or she's forced to marry some other guy when she gets finally gets found or recovers or whatever.
Yeah, his
Um,
fierce devotion to her is manifested in the most violent of ways.
exactly.
Mm.
Exactly. It doesn't really line up with the what feels like is going to be Denna driving whatever demon it is that's making Kvothe do maybe the bad things that he's trying to convince us that he's done. This war is all my fault. It's all on me kind of stuff. But um, Ari definitely has a role to play somehow, and it
She's
wouldn't stun
special,
me.
man.
Yeah.
She's special. Okay, here's what it is. Denna, or the king, is going to marry Denna.
Ooh.
She doesn't have a choice. Ari's dad is
Hmm.
taking Denna for his own.
Oof.
Quoth kills him.
Ari gets him in the door.
Yeah, or something. She's like, I'll let you in, but you can't kill him. But then he actually kills him.
I
And he's
mean,
like, oh no. Oh
what if
no.
what
Look
if
what I
he
did to Denna. Oh, or I did this for Denna, but look what I did to Ari. Oh no. I really screwed up. The music in me is gone. The Denna. Look what that drove me to do.
yeah, what if he uses Ari's affection for him to date her when the king is marrying Denna and then breaks her heart by
Once he's in,
just using the relationship to get in or something.
this is making me hate Kvothe. We need to stop. He hasn't done anything.
Nope, not
I'm
yet.
minority reporting him. Like,
Yes, that's right. That's right. You will do something. I mean, to be fair, he has told us he does. We
right.
just don't know
We know he
what
does
yet.
something.
Yeah.
Listen, there's forgiveness in my heart for Kvothe, but not if he hurts Ari.
Yeah, it'll be a tough
Yeah.
one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
On that note,
on that note, should we sign off?
yeah, this is Matt saying, Kvothe, don't you break her heart. Don't you break her heart.
Yeah. And Scott signing off saying, "Justice for Ari! Justice!" I don't know what that looks like
No,
because I don't
either.
even know what she wants, but I want her to have
But I
justice.
want her to have it. Yeah.
Yep,
Whatever she wants, you give it to her, Kvothe.
exactly.
And you
Including
give it to her,
bread and
Patrick
beer.
Rothfuss.
Yep.
Yep. Yep.
And its trace nutrients.
Well, it's a fun episode, buddy.
Yeah, it was.
Okay.
Good chat with you always.
Yep. Hope you
Yeah,
liked
man.
it, guys. Okay.
Yeah. Good
Bye.
night. Welcome, everyone, to Davos Fingers, episode 155. I'm Scatty, and with me, as always, is my buddy Matt.
Were you gonna say the name of the episode, Scott?
Holy shit.